For the third time in 2020, we can say hello and welcome to the BMW Sim 120 Cup as we are live from the legendary, the fabled Nurburgring. So far this season, we have seen, well, two of the biggest names in GT racing claiming themselves victory in the first two BMW Sim 120 events. First of all, we had ourselves at Daytona, Team Redline GT with Max Benecke and Max Venig. Before Sebring, we saw ourselves, the old fabled guard of Coanda Sim Sports, Joshua Rogers and Mitchell de Jong. They have already punched themselves their ticket over to Munich at the end of the year. And well, today we're going to find out who is going to be joining them. As I'd like to say hello and welcome to Racebot TV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network and across BMW's social media platforms. I'm joined today, as ever, by Tyler Maxson. And well, the Nurburgring is one of these tracks that you either love it or you hate it. And thankfully today, we're not running on the green hell. It's a slightly sterilized Grand Prix layout, but that doesn't mean it's boring, Tyler. It's still going to make for some exciting racing.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that one, Will. It's going to be extremely exciting here at the Nürburgring today. We have the Nordschleife just a little bit to the right of the circuit, depending on where you're at, but it's not too far. But nonetheless, we're going here to the Grand Prix layout, which, like you said, is a little bit more calm, I think, than the Nürburgring Nordschleife is. So this should still provide, though, some amazing racing because of how tight and close this track is. No one is really able to get a huge gap. Right now, the 1 second bracket for this field consists all the way down to 26th place. So this field is incredibly close today.
You've been producing far too much on Monday Night Skippies. The 1 second bracket, we're only 3 minutes into the broadcast. It's already come up. But here's a look then at the schedule. After this race, we'll be halfway through the 6-race kind of season that BMW have been putting on with iRacing this year. As I said already, we've been to Daytona and to Sebring. Today, it's Germany's day to shine. At the Nürburgring, we have a break in June, mainly because under normal circumstances, we'd all be thinking about Circuit de la Sarthe, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We reconvene on July the 5th at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps before then having 2 races in the Americas to round out our season. We go to Road Atlanta. I absolutely love Road Atlanta, but it's going to be probably the hardest of all the races this season, just purely simply because of the fact traffic will be a nightmare. It always is at Road Atlanta, but of course also because that track is so tight, twisty, and narrow. And then of course we round out the season at Interlagos, and that in itself will boost the drivers their own unique set of challenges. And of course, there's prize money on the line as well. $1,200 for each driver who manages to get themselves victory in these 6 events. And if it's their first time winning, they also get to punch their ticket to the end of year BMW Sim Live event in Munich. Second place will get $600 per driver. Third place will get $300 per driver. And it's worth noting that in the event, Tyler, that we have Team Redline GT or VRS Coanda Sim Sports winning again here today, then the most recently earned entry will fall to the next team in line that doesn't have an entry. So, if they were to finish 1-2 today, Coanda and Redline and Coanda, whoever comes third will be the team that gets their ticket to BMW Sim Live in.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Will, and I think that's really the thing that the drivers are going after. The money's just kind of an extra for them. They want that ticket to Munich at the end of the year for the BMW Live event. So we don't have VRS Coanda Sim Sport here today, but we do have Team Redline Black, which will not be Max Benecke and Max Wenig again. This time it's Max Beneke and Max Verstappen. So Team Redline kind of spicing up their lineup a little bit. They're changing it up here for this round of the championship, but it is still going to be exciting as ever.
So long as you're called Max, you're allowed on the team. It seems to be the case. And it's also worth noting, by the way, for those teams that do get the opportunity to go to Munich at the end of the year, they will also get their travel and accommodation provided by BMW. You've got to say, actually, Tyler, that is a great opportunity, of course. We're seeing more and more of these on-site events. We're actually talking, before we came on air, about the Nurburgring. In fact, it's hosted Sim Racing Expo for so many years now. But we've had it with other car manufacturers. We had the first ever BMW Sim Live event in Munich in December of last year. And it's going to be great. I mean, we say, touch wood, with all the situations in the world right now, we'll have the opportunity to travel come December. But it's a great opportunity for the teams that, you know, showcase some of their talent, and for the drivers, in some cases, to experience a new location in Munich.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, what they're doing at BMW is incredible, what they're doing for this whole SimX or Sim Live event. It's a great qualification process. You get to run in these awesome 2-hour events to try to punch your way into it. And like you said, travel and accommodations fully paid for. So it's about as good of a deal as you can get whenever you're going over to Munich at the end of the year, if we do indeed get to go over.
Well, yeah, some of us, hopefully, might be allowed to go as well. If we, you know, do a good job, pay our dues, so on and so forth. There's a look, by the way, at this wonderful pit complex, which, to be fair, at least the branding's on point. We've got a BMW sign right on the start-finish line. That's always a good start. But then, of course, it's worth noting that this track has got so much history. You often talk about the Green Hell, the Nordschleife, and, of course, all the famous corners around this. But I think about this track, and I don't remember Grand Prix racing at the Nordschleife. I grew up watching this track as the Luxembourg, the European, sometimes the German Grand Prix. It's had so many different names over the years. I remember the 1997 race, the two Schumachers crashing at the chicane. I remember the 1999 race where you had one of the Saubers up on its roof at the start of the event. Johnny Herbert winning that day. You had Luca Badour in 99 crying his eyes out. He was that close from getting Minardi the first ever podium in Formula One. You think then back into the 2000s, we had that absolutely torrential downpour. And of course we saw a driver leading in their first ever race, if yes, only for a few laps until things got sorted out. But this track is, you know, in modern history, it's got so much fun as well, and I'm really looking forward to be racing here.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, this track really does have so much history in it, and it is just such a legendary track in European racing, and this is one of those places that I think will never get old for a lot of these drivers. We're running that Grand Prix layout today, so we're taking that very tight chicane in the final sector instead of taking the very fast chicane. So that should help to slow some of these drivers down and could be a quite good passing opportunity, especially on lap 1. If you can get the car down the inside, it's really, really tough for anybody else to defend you in the second corner. But this track is just going to be incredible. We've seen amazing racing here in the past. We're going to see that again here today.
And we go on board with Lauren Heinrich in the 089 BS competition car. 6 minutes remaining in practice, and then after that we head ourselves over to a 2-lap closed course qualifying and the 089 BS competition car. Oh, look at that for some quick avoidance as he manages to just get past one of the other cars on track who got a little bit loose, and that's that tighter chicane that you were talking about. If this was World Endurance Championship racing, they would take what we like to call the faster chicane. Pit entry, of course. All drivers will have to do a pit stop as they hand over their teammates. And getting that right is critically important. And I will say, actually, Tyler, getting onto pit road, I have seen so many drivers over the years on iRacing, you know, just bottle it coming on towards pit road, because you're basically taking the inside of that final corner at a tighter radii, and when you're doing all these things, just trying to make sure you got everything working and ready for that pit stop, you get it wrong and you can end up sliding into that guardrail before you know it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, we've seen so many incidents here on pit road in the past. This is not the easiest place to get on and off pit road, surprisingly. So it's going to be a challenge for those guys, and it's something that they have to practice because you can gain seconds in the pit stop phases, and it can be very difficult to gain that time back on the racetrack, especially with a field this close. So getting everything out of the pit stops today is going to be crucial if you want to win this event. Because if you don't, then you could find yourself well down the order as we now ride on board with one of the Red Bull Racing esports cars.
Yep, Red Bull Racing esports, they've had themselves, well, should we say a bit of an up and down last couple of weeks, winning in World Championship competition 2 weeks ago, getting themselves the World Championship racing yesterday is one of those race meetings that they probably would want to forget. So, we're on board with the Red Bull Racing esports driver, Sebastian Job, in the number car. Interesting to note, of course, Tyler, last time out, they were the runner-up at Sebring. So, they finished runner-up again. Well, it depends on who's winning, whether they punch their ticket to stick. But I know for a fact that they've been trying so hard over the last couple of days, over the last couple of weeks even, to get that team into fighting shape for the start of the World Championship competition and also in terms of this series.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They want to punch their ticket to Munich in December. These guys are working incredibly hard to try and get it. Right now, they're about a 10th off the pace of what we see in practice, but that can easily change once we get over to the race. It's not about a one-lap pace in these 2-hour endurance events. You need to have the long haul for it, and you need to be able to keep the car underneath you for the long run. So we'll see how everybody pans out come the race, but that should kind of shake some stuff up a little bit. Right now, it's just Sebastian Job in the Red Bull Racing esports car, so we'll have to wait to see who will join him this evening. But at the end of the day, he is going for it here, and they're looking good for it. 1/10 of a second off, like I had said, but there's still 2 cars in front of him. They sit 4th right now in practice. That just shows you how close this field really is.
Oh, it's absolutely tight as it stands right now. Of course, practicing is one thing, qualifying will be another, racing a third. Racecraft is so important here. Let's actually bring up a look at that track for you real quick, and you just also see the track conditions. Currently 20 Celsius in the air. That makes it 34 degrees Celsius on track, or if you like the imperial measurement, 68 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, 90 degrees Fahrenheit on track, partially cloudy. Look at those wind speeds, Tyler. 50 miles an hour wind speed gusts. That makes these cars particularly difficult to handle. I'd say in particular around turns 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, you're exactly right. With the wind being this high, it can really change kind of the balance of the race car. People don't realize it as much, but the slight change in wind can really affect the balance of the car. And these guys are going to have to be on top of that today, especially heading into the 5-6 complex, like you were saying, because the little bit of a wiggle through there can spell disaster quickly. And this is going to be a very tough thing to stay on top of today, because just as we were looking at the graphic, it went down 3 degrees. So it, or 3 miles an hour. So it definitely is going to be a challenge. And like you said, partly cloudy. We can see that today, but the track isn't that hot. That's another thing that's pretty crucial here.
Also, with the fact that it's kind of cloudy in the sky, that means that the track, if the it does build up the heat, it loses it a little bit quicker as well. 1 minute to go, by the way, in terms of our practice. And that will be interesting in terms of this strategy we often talk about, because quite often in a GT car, you might want to think about doing a 2-stopper if you're doing a 24-hour race. We've seen already the crazy strategies of some teams taking tyres, some teams not taking tyres. Of course, they all have to do one pit stop. They all have to change the driver. The people watching will think, well, surely then you want to make sure that you change tyres, but actually you can hold on to the car. That's not always the fastest way to go, taking a fresh set of boots.
Yeah, you're exactly right. If you can hold that car, you can save a considerable amount of time in the pit lane. I think it's somewhere around 10 to 20 seconds can be saved, and that's a really load of time to close up on the racetrack. You've got to have that much more pace over your competitors for an entire 1 hour stint to be able to make the no tire or the taking tire strategy work. So it's definitely a gamble to take tires here, especially if you think that you can make them last. It's something that's worth trying because it can save you a lot of time in the pit lane, even if you have to just kind of slide the car around a little bit more in the second part of the race.
Qualifying is underway, and we've already got cars going out on track. We'll do a lap on board with one of them once they get themselves around. I'm thinking maybe having a look at Sebastian Jobin at Red Bull Racing Esports car, because I don't know what it is, Tyler. After what they had, and I'm going to call it a miserable performance yesterday for that team in World Championship competition on iRacing, they are going to want to find a way to bounce back, and I think that victory here today will be the best way of doing that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They definitely did not have a good day yesterday. These guys want to bounce back. They're going to be more determined than ever to get the race victory here today, and they want to keep that car as clean as they possibly can. Try to get on the pole position. That's a really important thing here because this track, while there are some good passing opportunities, it can be a little bit difficult sometimes to just get the nose in of that car. So if you can start on pole position, you have a pretty good advantage. So I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are going to be really, really gunning for that. It'll be a great person to try to ride on board with.
Yep, so here is a look at Seb in the number 2 car. And we'll go on board of him now as he just works himself towards the end of the lap. Notice, by the way, just how much curve they take at the chicane because of the fact they're running what is in effect the Grand Prix chicane. Look how high that car bounces on both parts of it. You've got to abuse the curb there. And actually, Seb slowing that car all the way down. I don't think he's actually ready to go. Well, actually, no, he's just going to warm up those tyres, take a very wide line for the final corner, and let's go then and do a lap on board with this Red Bull Racing Esports car as he heads towards the start-finish line. Well, there's the first couple of times up on the board. And it is a lap not counted for that Red Bull Racing Esports car. Look who we've got at the top of the timing stands right now. This is the ZF BMW team. Bruno Spengler behind the wheel of that one. They are absolutely flying. And actually, Second and third place separated by a grand total of nothing right now, Tyler.
Yeah, they are identical all the way back to the 1,000th of a second, but what a lap then by the ZF BMW team. G-Drive Racing goes to second with Scott Andrews at the wheel, just 0.5 of a second off of your pole position. And then Zenith Esports, less than 1/10 as well. They're only 0.08 of a second back. So this is a very close top three, but 4 and 5 right now, identical times.
It is mighty close. And actually, this is exactly what you predicted. We talk about the famous Monday night 1 second bracket. And as it stands right now, that is 25 of these teams who are all within 1 second of the ZF BMW team car. 2.5 minutes left remaining in qualifying. These second laps, anything can happen. We've got some big teams as well who have not set a qualifying time. SimRC DE Titan haven't set a time yet. We talked already about Red Bull Racing Esports. Williams Esports BenQ haven't set a time. We've got the BS Competition number 7 car having not set a time either. I actually want to turn my attention over to them and look at that. Team Redline Black, top of the timing stands. We go on board quickly with the BS Competition number 7 car of Kei Kashube. And well, that's completely messed up our timing screen because one of the BS Competition cars just goes to the top and the other one goes into second place as well. BS Competition, what a couple of moments they have just had in qualifying.
Yeah, what 2 laps they just put in. 1-2 right now for BS Competition, and then it's AAA Esports Black, less than 1/10 of a second behind them, and then it's Team Redline Black down in 4th position, and then the ZF BMW car is down in 5th, but what a close deal. We have Zenith Esports goes into the 3rd place, just 73/100ths of a second off of your pole position, beats out AAA Esports by 2/1000ths of a second, around nearly a 2-minute lap time.
I'm looking to see where Red Bull Racing Esports are in all of this. They only managed P number 8 as we've got just 2 cars on track right now. We're going to ride on board with this one very quickly. It is the BS NXT car. Robbie Foley just heading himself then towards start-finish line. Was he 3rd place right now? Remains in 3rd place. What a qualifying we have just witnessed. I mean, absolutely. It's the Nurburgring qualifying. It's topsy-turvy. It always is. And just to give you confirmation, by the way, 32 cars within a second of each other. It is so close between some of these drivers. Literally, I'm seeing gaps of 1/1000th of a second, 2/1000ths of a second up and down that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the closest we've ever seen these field of BMWs. This is insanely close. And if this isn't going to provide good racing, I don't know what is, because these guys are insanely close. I mean, there is nothing between any of them. And this is going to be, I'm assuming this is going to be a very long train for the lead at this point. There is not going to be any separation in this field, as we now will switch over to the race and we'll get the starting grid up just momentarily.
Yeah, we will do in just 1 second's time. I mean, I'm still in shock. And actually, I remember back to the first of these BMW 120 events that we had at the start of the year, and it does open a huge interesting situation when it comes over to strategy. But we talk about that in a moment's time, because first, let's think about your starting grid. And it is a BS Competition 1-2. They're sponsored by DAZN, of course, a German-owned TV company. BS Competition are German, and well, they've got themselves a 1-2 at their home track. The 089 car claiming pole position by 37/1000ths of a second over their teammate in the number 7 car. Then down into 3rd place, Zenith Esports, and they get a great qualifying here today. 4th place, that'll be the AAA Esports Black car. Then we head ourselves back down into row number 3, and you've got yourselves Team Redline Black with Max Benecke and ZF BMW Team Bruno Spengler, who led after the first lap of qualifying. AAA Esports White in 7th place, Red Bull Racing Esports in 8th. 9th place, D-Drive Racing Eximia and AAA Esports Green round out your top 10. It is a stacked field here today. There are the remainder of those qualifying times coming up on your screen right now, as we are just a couple of moments away from these drivers pulling off behind the iRacing first safety car. This one, Tyler, is going to be entertaining. I hope that everyone has got themselves some snacks, some popcorn, some drinks. There's going to be excitement.
Yeah, there certainly is, and I think there's some other big stories a bit further down the field. You see some of the Williams Esports cars a little bit further down the field. You see some of the Redline vehicles a little bit further down the field. So some of the teams and drivers that you would expect to be more at the pointy end of this one, a little bit further down in this field, but it'll be BS Competition leading us down to the green flag here for their front row lockout. It'll be Lauren Heinrich in the number 089 on the pole position. He will give us the command. The pace truck is off, and they will go through the Coca-Cola curve to get this one underway.
Here we are then. Are you ready for 2 hours worth of exciting racing? Because it will start here now at the Nurburgring. 2 hours worth of racing in the BMW Sim 120 Cup. What is going to be the circumstance into turn number 1? They're 3 wide, 3rd, 4th, and 5th already. But actually, I will say, a rather spread out start to this race. And it's one of those that I think the drivers realise to finish first, you've got to finish. And overall, I'm going to say that that was one of the cleanest starts I have seen in a very long time. The field got themselves spread out, they've got themselves racing, and now it's time to settle down into business.
Yeah, but just as you were saying that, Will, the Williams Esports Chill Blast car of Lasse Back, he goes around through the first Mercedes arena, and there was also another Williams Esports car who got spun around before he even took the green, but for the most part, like you were saying, it was a very clean start here, but still a couple of drivers making some contact a little bit further back as we have side-by-side with Red Bull Racing Esports and Team Redline Black.
Yeah, this could be one that proves to be decisive, and look at that. Step goes around the outside down at the Michael Schumacher S, right from the rear of him right now in that number 2 car over the Team Redline Black car of Max Benecke. And, well, this is going to be incredible to watch because there's going to be so many little bits of storyline working yourself through. And, of course, remember, Tyler, in the BMW Sim 120 Cup race at Daytona, and just look at how they pogo over the curb down at the chicane. We saw strategy and fuel saving being the story of the day as we go on board and turn around. Yep. That was, we were looking at them, we saw it happen, and it's carnage around them as so many drivers having to check up and go around them right now. And I believe one other car was involved in that one as well. That might be Zenith Esports, who also was involved in that one. So let's get ourselves a second look at this one. First of all, from on board with Zenith Esports, and they, I think, just touched themselves into the grass all by themselves, or the gravel even, and then at the same time, we just saw 2 cars trying to do a little bit of synchronized spinning.
Yeah, and the Red Bull Racing Esports car went off and hit the barrier as well, so unfortunate for them. They will drop down to quite a few positions, but that shook the grid up quite a bit here. We have a little bit more of a gap between your top 3 and the rest of the field. It's about a 4-second gap, between the top 2 and the rest of your field here. So it's BS Competition leading by nearly 4 seconds here over SimRC.de Titan as we have another look at this incident on board with the Red Bull Esports car.
Yep, so this is heading themselves into that final corner. And this is when everyone's starting to check up, and Seb having to go and donk into the tyre barrier. And we talk about how bad things happen in 3. They had 2 bad races yesterday in the iRacing World Championship competition. Let's make that 3 bad races in a row for them. And they are not going to be best pleased how their month of May is going so far. And again, the pogoing of the 089 car as they work through that chicane. But the key thing is, what happened on that first lap has given BS Competition's 089 car 1.6 seconds over the field.
Yeah, you're exactly right. A 1.7-second gap over his teammate, Kai Kashube. So this is a BS Competition dominant performance right now after lap 1. But it was definitely unfortunate. I mean, a lot of teams were involved in that one. A lot of heavy hitters were involved in that one. As we look now back to the ZF BMW team, Bruno Spengler fighting here with Team Redline Black and Max Benecke. He gets down the inside, does Team Redline Black, and they'll stay side by side through the Mercedes arena, and he'll get the move done now into the left-hander. Spengler will have to concede, and that'll be Max Benecke now up into 4th place.
Great aggressive driving there by Benecke in the 73 car, but also great respectful driving there between Benecke and Bruno Spengler in the ZF BMW team car. So absolutely fantastic racing for the most part, of course, early on in this race. And I think actually Team Redline aren't done, because here comes Gianni Vecchio. And after we talked about clean racing, well, that one went down the toilet very, very quickly, because Gianni Vecchio, that was not a clean, safe and easy pass as they work themselves down into Dunlop. And that one, oh.
And if you stick with this replay, you'll actually see Gianni Vecchio now. He'll come back onto the racetrack, and he'll have more contact with some of the other drivers in the field, and he'll get sent off the racetrack once again. And there you go. He now has 2 bits of contact in 2 little bits of time. But that was unfortunate. We were just talking about how clean the racing was, and then immediately there's contact as we jump back to the number 4 Williams Esport Razor card.
Well, you know what? I once got banned from actually commentating on a race once. It's one of the part of RaceBot TV folklore, and it was at this one track. Every time I said someone was doing a good job or the racing was really clean, something was going to happen. So I fully expect my RaceBot TV co-producer, commentator, Paul Smith, to come and relieve me of my duties within the next 5 minutes' time. But the key point is, there are some teams who's had a fantastic start to this race. I'm going to run through that one in a moment's time. Tim RCDE, do you remember, Tyler, in that qualifying, I was saying, for a team that didn't set a qualifying time, they messed up that first lap. They are in 3rd place, though. They got the second one just right, and now look at them. Yes, a 6.5 back from the BS Competition duo, but they are in great shape right now.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They're in great shape at the moment. It's MRC.DE Titan, but like you said, they are nearly 5 seconds behind the 2nd place BS Competition car, who, by the way, is losing time to Lauren Heinrich right now in the number 089. So the number 7 car of Kai Kashube is losing a little bit of time to his teammate. He's now up to nearly a 2-second gap to him. So right now, Lauren Heinrich putting in the laps, and he is starting to extend that lead. He wants to really extend that here in the early stages so that he doesn't have to worry about anyone else.
And we started talking about this point, actually, just before the pandemonium at the end of lap number 1 begun. At Daytona, the race became a strategy race very quickly, in which you kind of wanted to run in the draft, save yourself some fuel, save time on your pit stop, and therefore do what we like to call the undercut, the leapfrog, call it what you will. As another fast lap then being done by the number 089 car, a 152.717. Here today, if Heinrich can basically keep that gap at 2 seconds, he will force his teammate and all others to run full tilt. So that whole idea, fuel saving, goes out of the window. That's the reason why that 089 car up on your screen right now is basically pushing so hard. If they do that now, it will basically give them the elasticity in the strategy window moving forward in this race. We've got a car turned around, by the way. That is the Williams Esports Fanatec car.
Yeah, and he just gets back going now. Does Isaac Price? Oh, there's actually a bigger incident here. There's a couple of drivers off. This is the HM Engineering red car. There was another one off as well. So that may have been a little bit bigger incident than we once thought here. Let's get a replay up on your screen. Wow, okay, that was a bigger incident. And then something else happened to the Williams Esports Fanatec car because they were already back going at this point. So I'll try to figure out exactly what happened to them. But they dropped down a load of positions here as we now have a replay of exactly what happened to them. And I think they're just going to get turned by one of the Team Redline cars. I believe that was Team Redline Orange with Patrick Heinrich at the wheel. And he will turn around the Williams Esport car. And Isaac Price will get that car back going, though.
Well, seeing as both of those teams are sponsored by Fanatec, they're on one hand going to be happy with the fact that they got their sponsor some airtime. But Fanatec at the same time are not going to be happy that one of their cars was end up at the side of the racetrack looking a little bit dented out of shape. So this is the situation right now. We've had ourselves almost 10 minutes of racing complete. The top 8 are at the bottom of your screen. Very different top 8 since the start of this race. And the reason for that is Red Bull Racing Esports are already out, and of course Prologue React Esports green car, who started this race oh so well, well, they're not going so well right now. They're all the way down in 23rd place on track. So that top 8 has been shaken up pretty dramatically, and we're only 10 minutes in. And I think, Tyler, I might now be able to finally...
Yeah, I think you're right about that one, but as soon as we say that, there's going to be something else that's going to happen. But yeah, I think we can kind of take a little bit of breath here and start settling into this one because we do have a long race ahead of us. There's still an hour and 50 minutes ahead of us in this event. So we've had all this action in the first 10 minutes of it. So these guys are not letting up anytime soon. It doesn't look like either. They are absolutely going at it still. And there's still some other gaps as we ride on board with the Prologue React car. But there are some other gaps starting to close up here. You can see this long train that we're riding on board with now with the Three Musketeers car down in 15th place. But this is kind of what the field is turning into, just kind of longer trains, everybody trying to go single file and get themselves to the ideal strategy. We were talking about that earlier with Daytona as we see one car spun around down in there in the background. Which car is that? We get a replay up on your screen now. This is the Gaming Paddock car, and they'll be spun around, and there they go. And more contact, so that was an unfortunate error there for a couple of those vehicles.
I talked too soon, didn't I? I honestly swear, at some point in this broadcast, I do fully expect to be banned from commentary for saying things, everything's nice and calm, everything's nice and good battling. But you know what? This is still great racing. Team Redline Black, they have been aggressive at the start of this race, and for good purpose. They don't want the two BS competition cars to pull away and basically dictate the flow of this race. We'll go on board then with Max Benecke, who had himself a good ride yesterday in iRacing World Championship Series competition. For the first time in 5 years, Team Redline got themselves a 1-2 in a World Championship race. So they're riding on a high right now, and we always talk about team momentum, such a big thing. Team Redline Black, I'm sure, will be looking to make a statement again here today.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And Team Redline Black, consisting of Max Benecke and Max Verstappen, those guys claimed 1-2 yesterday in World Championship Series competition. So it is definitely going to be a lot of team momentum for them. They want to keep the train rolling and try to get another victory here today. Max Benecke, though, putting in incredible times. Last time was only about a 100th of a second slower than your race leader, but nearly half a second faster than the SimRC.de Titan car that he's currently battling with, and just about 0.3 of a second faster than the BS competition number 7. So these guys are incredibly quick as Max Benecke and Team Redline Black. They are going to be looking to keep the momentum going and try to claim yet another victory here at the Nurburgring.
Under normal circumstances, I'd say SimRC.de wouldn't make this too difficult for Team Redline. They are so experienced in GT racing. They know in these races you often race the clock, but at the home track, and it was until about 5 seconds ago, 3 German teams in the top 3 places. That's changed though, because that was a nice, clean, textbook pass there by Beneke over SimRC DE, and I was kind of right. I think they did that one in such a way they weren't going to hold up Team Redline that much. For a battle, however, is MSI Esports and Williams Esports Razor. They have just gone side by side for the first 4 corners. That one will deserve a second look from our aerial coverage as we just take a nice look then in towards turn number 1. You see the green-fronted Williams Esports Razor car getting himself down the inside into turn number 1. Try to hold the outside through turn 2 and turn 3. Just couldn't get the move complete, and Williams Esports then was able to get clear before it would have switched around, and Williams Esports would have been on the inside through turn 4. That's good side-by-side racing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's such a difficult move to pull off. And I'm honestly not surprised that Williams Esports Razor wasn't able to pull that off. He's right on board now with the MSI Esports car. But, I mean, that's such a difficult move to get right. You almost have to play that one whenever your competitor's tires are a little bit worse than yours are, because I mean you have 3 left-handers in a row. It's going to be pretty much impossible to stay around the outside for all 3, but if you can, then you have a great shot into the right-hander. So I'm not saying that it wasn't a bad idea for the Williams Esports Razor car, but I think they just needed to wait on that move for a little bit longer. We'll see if they'll size them up again here, heading down into turn number 1, try to maybe get the inside for this next time by.
Yeah, and I will say one thing as well. This month of May has been, I think this might have been side-by-side battle, Running Sim Sport and Project R. The Running Sim Sport car, which I think I offended a little bit, trying to work out the colour of that car. I'm going to call it a burnt orange moving forward, Tyler, to be a little bit more polite to them. But they were in a battle with Project R GTE as they came down into turn number 1, and Running Support right now, running 4th place on the track. But the month of May, of course, you know, it's recognised. And if you're going to talk about endurance racing, you might want to add in and make it 6 weeks between the start of May and the middle of June as the greatest period of motorsport in the world. That's not happening this year, but what we have had is some fantastic sim racing events in all forms of competition. We just got away from that battle at potentially the worst possible time because I think that something just changed and we moved away from it. But I think Ronan were going side by side. We'll bring you up to date on that one in a moment. We've had some great sim races in the last couple of months whilst we've been under these difficult circumstances. And I think that actually what I've seen by these sim races as well is I think I've seen them step up in terms of their responsibility as representing that sim racing community. Daytona, we had some very messy incidents. Sebring, there were some couple of messy incidents. Driving standards today, yes, there have been some silly moves here and there. For the most part, though, very, very representative of what sim is 2020.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's been a great few months for the sim racing community while we've been out of real life racing, and it really has just shown a massive spotlight on how good sim racing can be and how good the racing can be. And a lot of these events we're not able to do in real life, but we do have the virtual counterparts to them. And on iRacing, we'll still continue with that, probably the greatest period in racing. I think I can completely agree with you on that one. We'll have the Indianapolis 500 next weekend, and then the 24 Hours of Le Mans in, I think, about a month's time here. So we are still going to have that awesome kind of section of racing as we see side-by-side between the Williams Esports Chill Blast car and the Pure Racing Team #1 vehicle. So those guys were still fighting it out. Williams Esports looking for any sort of a gap they can find on that Pure Racing Team vehicle.
And a big part of that as well, of course, this whole sim racing. We've seen it with others, BMW, of course, but we saw BMW 120s is actually almost first anniversary of the first BMW 120 event, which we, of course, have been producing and commentating on all of these. Incredibly proud to be working with BMW, and just how close Lasse back is to the Michael Schumacher S there. Gonna go back on board with him in a second, because he was going side by side into the left-hander. This is incredible racing right now. But this is, a big part of the reason why these motorsports companies, these car manufacturers are getting involved in sim racing, because look at the driving talent on display right now. Don't jinx it, guys. Into the chicane. Lasse back outside line. Pure Racing Team inside line. And, well, this battle continues for P number 9. And look at them doing the switchback there almost down into the Coca-Cola curb. This one will continue as they head themselves past the start-finish line. And actually, it's going to be a 3-horse battle because Williams Esports BenQ had a slowdown penalty.
Yeah, unfortunately there for the Williams Esports BenQ car. They'll get themselves a slowdown penalty. Will be side by side down into turn number 1 here. And they will continue to be side by side. So the BenQ car having to defend now from Pure Racing Team. What can he do to possibly help out his teammate to get the Williams Esports Chill Blast car up into up by that Pure Racing Team car? We're still on board now with the Williams Esports Chill Blast car heading through the first Mercedes arena. Now we'll head down into the Valvoline curve, but we'll get a replay here of exactly what happened with the Williams Esports BenQ car, which caused them to slow down. That was interesting. So it must have been a slowdown penalty through the chicane.
Yeah, we're going to try and replay this one a little bit further, and let's have a look then. Agustin Canapino, I don't know if it's going to be best to look at this one on board, but we might get a good angle here. Comes in. Okay, it doesn't look that bad. But, of course, the track limits are very well defined here. So if we have a look from up above, let's see if we can see anything a little bit better. Yeah, all 4 wheels. You can just see that all 4 wheels were to the right of that white line there. So that's what gave them a slowdown penalty. It's a little bit like tracks like Donington Park. They can creep up on you, these slowdown penalties.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The slowdown penalties definitely can creep up on you, and they can be a little bit difficult to maybe try and judge exactly where you are, because you're trying to get everything out of the car, because you can gain a little bit of time there as we see dive down the inside for the Williams Esports Chill Blast car. Lasse back. He really wants to get by this Pure Racing Team car, and they are going at it here as we see now the SimRC.de Carbon car is just there in the background. They've lost so much time with this battle. He's closed up from about a couple seconds back already.
Yeah, this is really entertaining. And note the fact that Agustin Canapino actually gained 1 second on this battle in the space of a lap. And now Jürgen Frank in the SimRC, the Carbon car, is right there in the mix as well. This is incredibly close racing for P9, 10, 11 on track. And even though, of course, they're not running for... Oh! It's just as I said, incredible racing. There is contact between the two of them. Let's have a look at the replay. Apologies to those of you whose eardrums I just burst. But let's have a look. Down to the left-hander. Well, quote Jimmy B, that was a punterino.
Yes, I think we can agree with that. That was a little bit of a punt there from the Williams Esports Chill Blast car. I think at that point he was pretty much done with that Pure Racing Team car. He just kind of gave him a little bit of a tap out of the way heading into the Valvoline curve, and that'll send the Pure Racing Team car tumbling down the order, down and now currently in 17th place. So they have lost a lot of positions out of that battle. But we still have some other battles on the racetrack as well. The AAA Esports green car is very close. We'll see yet another view of this as he heads down in. We'll on board with Lasse back. And that was, I mean, just the slightest bit of contact, but was able to send that car around.
I'm always a little bit skeptical after what we saw last week in a certain iRacing broadcasters race, when someone starts shaking that steering wheel as to whether or not they're doing it just why that they locked up. But at the same time, I'm not here to be a steward. I'm just here to call the racing, and that's my opinion on that. But we move on. AAA Esports Green They are running in P7 right now. They've got another Williams car just around them. By saying that, we've got 2 wide, 2 deep going on here. P12, 13, 15. Team Red Line Blue, Johnny Vecchio, BS NXT. I'm going to call it NXT right now, Tyler, because it's the only way I know. AAA Esports Black and Carrera Motorsports. This is a 4-way battle going on here, just outside your top 10.
Yeah, you're exactly right. 4-way battle just outside of the top 10. They're all in one long line at the moment. Currently being headed by Team Red Line Blue, is about a second ahead of this one, but then BS Competition, or BS NXT, driven by Robbie Foley, currently leading the real train here, and then we'll ride on board with AAA Esports Black as they'll work their way around this racetrack, and you'll just see how close this field is. I mean, you can just see there's still a lot of cars around there, even if they're not really in this battle. So these guys, they're one long train that's all fighting for the 13th position right now, but nobody going side by side at the moment as we now ride on board with the Kuruma Motorsport car sitting down in 15th place.
And they just now head themselves into sector number 3, where the DRS zone would be if we were to be running in Grand Prix cars. Of course, no DRS in these BMW. Highly entertaining. Okay, but I digress as I now come into the chicane. I believe DTM actually does have a DRS system, so it's not completely out of the realms of possibility to have GT cars, GT style cars with DRS. Sure, I probably wouldn't see it in a GT car. I mean, you can probably imagine down the motorline straightaway at Le Mans, that would just be absolutely crazy. But we'll go on board now, back inside your top 10, and this is AAA Esports Green and Williams Esports Razor, and AAA Esports in the 9 car, Andreas Jochmin. And go back actually for a moment, because we turned away and they started battling again, and BS Competition lost out to AAA Esports and their black car, if I'm not very much mistaken.
Yeah, and I believe this is just a move down into turn number 1, if we can get a replay of that one. And it was a nice dive there by AAA Esports. We'll see the replay up on your screen now. He'll pull to the right quite aggressively down the inside for Daniel LaFluente, and he'll make that move and get AAA Esports Black up into the 13th position here. And he'll throw that BS NXT car just down one more. So AAA Esports Black on the move, and they are currently holding that position and starting to pull away a little bit from that BS NXT car.
Yeah, and apologies that our graphics package decided to have one too many one-steiners for the start of this race. Apologise for that one. And look at this, even outside your top 15, look at the snakes going on now. With Zenith Esports, R8 Sports, it's not 5 teams. That is the team that is essentially owned by Roman Grosjean, Tyler. So another one of these top-level motorsport drivers getting involved in some racing scene. And Alonso do some cars. Now we've got R8G Sports. I will say, when I see this in some racing, it's very confusing to see their livery likes of Altus Sport. And because they've got the kind of yellow, not the yellow, the orange, blue and white livery, but it is still a very car.
Yeah, it's a very nice looking car there that they have. It's really liking the livery that they went for. But like you said, it can be a little bit confusing with that Logitech GLTC Esports car, because it does look quite similar to them out on the racetrack. So it can be a little bit confusing, especially on some of the other cars that they have, where it kind of looks a little bit more similar. But we jump back to the battle for P6, and it's Williams Esports Razor and AAA Esports Green battling it out for the 6th position.
And Williams Esports Razor, Dominic Steib, the number 4 car, Andres Jochemsen in the 9 machine as they work themselves through sector. Now, actually, we can go on board with Andreas Jochemsen in that AAA Esports car. And it's worth noting that your top, having a look for top drivers, are still within 30 seconds of the race lead. That seems like a lot, Tyler. 30 seconds, only half an hour into the race. But you've got to remember But this is one of those tracks where running very close together can be difficult. Got trains doing so, but actually, for the most part, that is still an incredible number of cars very close together, and we still got huge packs of drivers and cars. I'm just one flashing up on my timing screen right now. This is down P121 track, and these are this is the BMW team car that we saw in the wars earlier on. This is Bruno Spengler. Right now is in a burnt orange Running Sim Sports sandwich.
Yeah, Bruno Spengler in a Roland Sim Sports sandwich right now. He's currently sitting down in the 22nd position, but like you said, he was involved in that tangle up, I think that's the best way to put it, that we had earlier. And yeah, he's now a little bit further down the order than he once was, but he's trying to get himself back up the field right now. He's got a pretty nice battle just ahead of him. This is where the Zenith Esports car currently leads this train out. It's a very long and snaking train, which goes down about 8 or 9 positions here. And this is a very nice battle here in the midfield. And this is kind of what we expected. You know, we kind of expected the field to maybe have some of these longer snaking packs as the race started to go on and everybody started to spread out a little bit.
And as I said, had those first couple of laps not had the occasional that kind of spread out this a little bit, we could well have been looking at this becoming a fuel mileage race where people basically not even worry necessarily about pulling out a gap, a lead, etc. Because what they would have wanted to have done is save maybe a lap of fuel. Don't save as much fuel a track like this than you would do compared to Daytona. Mainly because you're not full throttle for as long, and you've not got the chance to kind of modulate that right foot as much as you at Daytona. But fuel saving can still be accomplished. Go back on board Korean Motorsport and Diego Martinez in the 04 car as they work now on the exit of the chicane down towards the Daytona again. And just behind them, talked about the R8G sports car, but they've been battling it out down in 18th place for a moment at the very least.
Yeah, they were having a little bit of a battle with the Prologue React Esport green car. Now they are under pressure from the Logitech or for the Astro Gaming Altus Esports car. Astro Gaming Altus Esports down the inside into turn number 1, and they'll try to get the move done. But Prologue React Esports green, they'll hang it around the outside, and they will keep that position. Now the Rowan Sim Sport car, they want to move up. Number 3 car, they'll make contact with the Astro car, and the Astro Gaming Altus Esports car pushed out wide through the Mercedes arena, and they will have to concede the position there to the Rowan Sim Sport team.
Hey.
I think it's worth one.
Replay. Let's have a look then. And this is going to be down in towards turn number 1. Note the OTC Sports car just moving down to that inside line through turn number 1. Hold it tight, and that's what you got to do. You've got to try and find a way of holding your opponent tight. They make contact just enough through turn number 2 then. Upset, and that's a second contact. Ronan then just catching the left rear of the Altus Esports car down into turn number 3, and that is what basically pushed them down a position. But, well, Ronan seemed to be confidently aggressive a little bit at stages there. I think that was just one of those things that they were all thinking they're going to break a little bit later, and turns out Ronan braked the latest of the lots.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think you just kind of have to put that down as a racing incident. You know, there really nobody was truly at fault for that one. You know, they're all fighting for a position in a very tight corner. And, you know, contact is going to be inevitable whenever you're all side by side for that kind of space of time. But the Prologue Esports green car is now starting to close up to that R8G Esports car once again. They were at about a second back. Now they've caught that gap back up to about half a second, and they're bringing Rowan Sim Sport with them as well. So this could be a 3-way battle for the 18th position right now, as the Astro Gaming Altus Esports car starting to lose some time on that Roland Sim Sport car.
I will say one thing. I was really hoping that we could have had the R8 sports car and the LTC sports car in the same shot, just to prove how difficult it can be differentiate between cars at high speed. That doesn't look as though that's going to happen for the next couple of laps, however, as they now just circulate themselves through towards the middle of the lap, again, down into the Dunlop curb. But crazy start to this race, interesting start to this race. Still got AAA Esports Green wrapping it out, Williams Esports Razor. And what I wanted to do, well, very quickly, show you where these drivers are on track. Unfortunately, that graphic doesn't work, but you can see that there is still a lot of drivers all occupying the same piece of trailer.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There is a lot of drivers still running. We currently have 41 cars still out there and running in this field, and then we've only had 4 retirements thus far in the race. So that is a pretty good numbers here, considering how long into this one we're at. We're currently just over the 35-minute mark, and we've kept most of the competitors in, but there was a spin a little bit further back. That's Prologue Esports down to the 21st position as we were on board there with the AAA Esports Green, and I think they made contact with the Roland Sim Sport car.
There's a look at them. They're kind of beached right now. Going to have to reverse that car a little bit and then try to build up speed. If you do this right, you can actually do it in such a way you don't cause too much issues. I'd like to apologize, of course, as ever, to the families of those orange cones. But let's get ourselves a replay, shall we? Is down, heading in towards the chicane. Oof. That angle wasn't as good as I thought it would be, actually. I want to see it again. Get myself more of a kind of informed argument there. Here we are, from up above. That one, it looks as though Prologue actually just came down on Ronan a little.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one to really call. I'm going to take a look at it again on my own screen here. I just want to get another view of exactly what happened here, and yeah, it's a tough one to really call and make that to make a good assumption on that one. But I think that's another one of those just unfortunate racing incidents that really you almost just can't avoid, as we now ride on board with the Prologue car, and you can see that incident a little bit closer. But that's a tough one there between them and the Roland car. I'm
very glad I do not have to do race control. I do think that's one of those racing incidents, and quite often we have a lot of our people say, oh, this is this person's fault, this is that person's fault. I think we forget sometimes that there are things that are just classified as racing incidents, and I think that fall into that category. So I wouldn't necessarily blame it for them there. Different angles that come up with different conclusions a little bit, but what we still have got going on is a battle going on. P11, 12, 13, 15. Team Redline Orange, Redline Blue, AAA Esports Black, and SNXT. Plus the gaggle of cars right behind 312, sends it turn number 1 over Team Redline. That was an entertaining one. Down into that first corner, lick it and send it. That is nailed. And that was from about 4 car lengths back at one point as well. Great move into 1.
Now, if that is not considered a send, I don't know what is. But what a move there for the AAA Esports Black car. That is last minute at its finest. Dives it down the inside, gets the car stopped, and gets by the Team Redline Blue car then. And that was incredible. But the Team Redline Blue car was able to get back by the AAA Esports Black vehicle, and he will hang on to 12th place with Gianni Vecchio.
Yep, there's a look from the opposite angle then, on board with Gianni Vecchio through turn number 1. And again, that is something that you can do. You can gain it back pretty quickly. But all that scrapping has done is it means that now the gap between Team Redline Orange and Patrick Heinrich and Team Redline Blue up to 9 seconds right now. So you are getting into that situation in the race where I'm going to say that this quite clearly is a mid-pack, not a pack that's going to be wrapping it out realistically, Tyler, for the top 10.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one. I think that this is going to be just a mid-pack battle at its finest there, as we saw Bruno Spangler, and oh, these guys are still going at it here with the AAA Esports Black and Team Redline Blue. through the Coca-Cola curve. They still keep it side by side. Now will AAA Esports Black send one down the inside once again? They're going to be trapped on the outside now down into turn number 1 this time. And they're going to try to make the move around the outside. I don't think that's going to work, though. They're going to have to try the switchback as we see Bruno Spangler send one down the inside. The Pure Racing team car goes wide.
It's almost as though they're coming at about 40 miles an hour quicker into that first corner, some of these. And, I mean, it is one of those corners where historically you can brake so late. I've seen so many great passes, but I want to see that one again from on board the number 1 car. This is in turn number 1. And I think that they're doing a game right now, to be honest, Tyler. It's like, oh, you can dive from this far back. Hold my 1 signer. Let me ever go.
I think that's exactly right. I think they're like, I think at this point it's pretty much just a game for these guys. How deep can you possibly send it into the corner in turn number 1? But they're continuing to circle around here, and they're still staying in the order that they were at the beginning of the lap. No real changes here, but we're still seeing side-by-side here between AAA Esports Black. He thought about it to Daniel Afluente, but he wasn't able to get the move or get alongside Gani Vecchio in the Team Redline Blue car.
Yeah, indeed. So having a look through, as just going to have a look then, on board with this AAA Esports Black car, they are still scrapping it out. They're still oh so close to, oh my word. And is that going to be a turnaround? Look at them. They're almost going 3 wide there. They're all falling over each other as they enter that final corner.
Yeah, those guys were all over each other through the final section, and you see that it's all it takes, because now they've dropped about 1.9 seconds back to Gani Vecchio, so they've lost a load of time in this lead, but side by side, Robbie Foley in the aid of the Zenith Esports car down into turn number 1, and the Zenith car will move up that position quite easily then, and will get themselves up into the 14th place. But Robbie Foley isn't done. He tries to go down the inside, not able to make it work.
Yeah, as we are, by the way, only about 20 away from ourselves having pit stops here. This driver is your race leader, and they've had themselves an absolutely incredible start to this race here today. They've been helped a little bit by battles and incident stuff going along the way, but BS competition P1, BS competition P number 2. So that is how things are currently standing, as we're going to do a lap on board with this BS competition car. This is how it looks from the nose. We're going to do a lap on board starting right now. That's what I like to call a rather unique look then at a lap around this racetrack, Tyler. Absolutely great to have that kind of nose cam looking from the front of Lauren Heinrich's car, leading by 3.4 seconds over Kei Kashube is right now. And we're just going to show you the lap gaps. It's not as important as some other races we've been covering recently, but it is worth noting that it's at least little and often right now that they're pulling out a little bit.
Yeah, they're kind of pulling out a little bit, but then Kai Kashube will usually pull that gap back in. So, I mean, it's been kind of static at 4 seconds. There has been some laps, so like you said, or sorry, 3.3 seconds, but there has been some laps, like you said, that have they've extended that gap out just a little bit, as the number 089 has. But now we'll look back a little bit further. This is Robbie Foley and a couple of the other cars involved in this one. Pure Racing Team number 1 car will ride on board with them, down in 16th place. And this whole group really hasn't changed once again. They've stayed pretty static throughout this race thus far. This kind of mid-pack group, which consists all the way from around the 13th place all the way down to nearly, I think we're, man, we got to go down into the near 20s here. 25th is the back of this one. So it is a very, very close group.
It is. And it's great to see them all kind of working. Just noticed, by the way, it seems to have gotten a little bit darker here around the Nurburgring. Here's a look at the track conditions right now. It's still gusty out there. 13 miles an hour, 21 degrees Celsius on track. Sorry, in the air, 31 degrees on track. Now, we often talk about that cutoff point between doing a 1 and a 2 stopper in tyres or more. I think that we might still have some very interesting situations to go in terms of strategy here. And it's one that I'm sure some of the teams will be sat there laughing at me. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, you silly little commentator. I still think there's something there that we just need to bookend, just for the moment, just keep in the back of our minds.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like there is, there's still some strategy that could be played in this event. It's not completely over as far as strategy goes. These guys still will find ways to come up with some pretty incredible strategy goals. We're on board here with the RAG Esports car. You can see the battle that's just in front of them, and they'll head down into turn number 1. We'll see them all fan out here. The Williams Esports car and a couple others all side by side. These guys are too deep, too wide, about 3 or 4 deep.
Daytona. Except it's not. It is the Nurburgring. Oh, we're going to car stopped off on track there. That could have been catastrophic, the way they crashed that car. That is a Kimura Motorsports car. I was about to say that I noticed the fact that R8G Esports have actually fallen back a little bit. I want to look at this on board very quickly. I want to see what happened with Kimura Motorsports, the 204. This looks as though it's going to be a solo car incident by the looks of it. So what's happened to them? Back end steps out, and my word, that could have been absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah, that could have been a much worse incident than it was. Kudos to the driver there for getting that car off the racetrack, but that could have been a whole lot worse if they had actually made contact, because they were in about the worst possible spot that you could be in at that moment in time.
As I just saw Ronan there almost trying to send one once again. Down into the left-hander, and just keeping an eye out as well. Yeah, R8G Esports, they've actually lost some time and some places by the looks of it, because they've actually fallen to the rear of this group now, and it does look as though that front end, is it me, or is that just a little bit crumpled as well?
I think that's just the look of their livery, to be honest with you. It looks to me like that car is fine, but I may be a little mistaken on that one. But it looks to me as if that car doesn't have any damage, but you could be right. It could have a little bit.
Yeah, just there. The yellow pen, of course, has to come out at least once to broadcast for us. We might get a good look heading into turn number 1. And no, actually, I think I might be mistaken on this case. Triple A Esports Black, Daniel Lafontes, and an incident We're going to give you a replay, show you what's happened to them. This, I think, is down in towards turn number 1. Sends it down the inside into turn number 1. Everything's all fine at this point. Then into turn number 2. Still fine. What about turn number 3? Oh, there we are. There we are. And they have that incident right there down at turn number 3.
Yeah, that was such an unfortunate incident as well. They just got spun around, and then goodbye they went for them there. And that's all it takes. It just takes the slightest bit of contact to send someone around here. Just due to the nature of this racetrack, it can be very, very difficult to hold on to that one. As we will now take a look at Max Benecke, who is 10 seconds behind your race leader. He has been losing a lot of time in these last few laps. 0.4 of a second lost to the 2 BS competition cars on that lap.
Yeah, and there's a look. And actually, you note that it's almost a second in the last 3 laps. And I was thinking, is Benecke just on partial cruise control here today? Of course, they've already... Well, Benecke has punched a ticket to Munich at the end of the year. But he's done that along with Max Venig in what was a Team Redline GT car. Today he's running the Team Redline black car and Max Verstappen. I'm not going to lie to you, Tyler. I haven't got a full rule book in front of me as to what happens if this team does win. Whether Verstappen would get an entry, whether or not Benecke gets 2 entries and he can give them to a teammate, I don't know. But right now, they don't seem to be... well, pushing as hard as I thought they might want to do, but at the same time, if they're working to a lap delta to try and preserve the tyres, that might be a case of them just trying not to push too hard too early.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They may be trying to extend this one out just that little bit further if they can. Maybe try to get that second stint to be a little bit shorter, and that could pay huge dividends to them if they could save a little bit of time in the pit stops and also have less fuel on board that car for the remainder of the race. That could really help them out. But, I mean, we don't know exactly what they're doing yet. We're going to have to wait and see, but it's definitely a possibility.
We go on board with the Williams Esports Chill Blast car. Lassie back running in P number 9 right now. And he's got himself Augustin Canapino, his teammate, Williams Esports BenQ, in the 8th spot right now. So a good showing by Williams Esports. Of course, that wider framework where they've got the likes of Mahara Racing Team, BS Competition, of course, so on and so forth. But Williams Esports doing a good job. By the way, live timing and scoring is available. Visit racebot.tv/timing. Keep up to date with all the developments in this race. I'd like to say a shout out to everyone watching on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Facebook Live, especially those who are watching maybe for the first time on BMW Motorsports social media channel. So hello, we hope that you're enjoying this, the 3rd round of the BMW Sim 120 Cup here from the legendary Nurburgring. And of course, these drivers are running for prize money as well as the chance to get themselves a ticket to Munich and the BMW Sim Live event that will be taking place hopefully in December to wrap up this, what has already been an incredible season's worth of racing. A look at the top 8 then, along at the bottom of your screen, and it is BS Competition 1 and BS Competition 2. Team Redline Black, who just documented how they've been losing a bit of time over the last few laps. They run right now in 3rd. SimRC DE Titan are in 4th place, with MSI Esports GTE in 5th. Williams Esports Razor in 6th, with AAA Esports Green in 8th. Williams Esports BenQ in 9th. In 8th place. And then Williams Esports Chill Blast in 9th. In fact, they're going to change that one around maybe to just almost make my point correct. And then SimRC DE Titan. Carbon rounding out your top 10. Great little scrap going on between the 2 teammates here who've been looking as they run through those standings, Tyler.
Yeah, good little battle between the teammates here, and they will continue. They're staying in line for the moment, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that staying that way for a long time, because at the end of the day, your teammate is a big competitor of yours, as we see the BS NXT car, Robbie Foley, losing some positions here. What's happened to him? Because he's lost nearly 3 or 4 spots in the matter of one corner. We'll get a replay up on your screen now to see exactly what happened here to that BS NXT car.
And I think it's going to be another case of all... Oh, no, it's not. So it is. There's the spin. Then, of course, he pushes out onto the side of the racetrack, then would get himself a slowdown penalty. So a miserable sequence of corners there for Robbie Foley. We're going to ride on board of him and show this one again in real time.
Did he clip the grass on the entry? Because that's almost what that looks like. It looks to me like he clipped the grass on the entry, then lost the rear of the car, which caused him to spin.
Here's a look. I don't know.
No, it didn't look like he did. It looks to me like he just like locked the rears or something. That's a strange incident to me of exactly how he spun that car around.
I've heard stories of sim racing drivers, of course, messing around with things like brake bursts, especially over the course of a run, or sometimes they've just changed the setting without even realizing. I almost think that might have been what happened there.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. I know I've done that in the past where, you know, you hit something thinking that it's something else sometimes, and then you're accidentally click, you know, maybe a little bit more brake bias, or you're just going through a corner and you accidentally hit the brake bias knob if it's on your steering wheel. So that's definitely a possibility. He just didn't even know that he changed something, which then caused that car to do a little bit of a half spin. But at the end of the day, he is still able to continue as Robbie Foley as we ride on board with the Williams Esports Chillas car, as they are still chasing down their teammate in Augustin Canapino in the Williams Esports BenQ vehicle.
Yeah, and what's also worth noting is in this battle out front, just going to have a look at the lap gaps once again, and Kei Kashibe is closing in a tiny bit. It's 1 lap you're faster. Well, the next lap, sir, I'll be faster. No. This time you go faster between the lots of them. 3.6 seconds, but we are getting close to pit stops, and they're going to start happening. Well, that window, of course, is wide. That window is technically open now, and if you are stuck in traffic, you might want to come in early, Tyler. But these drivers can come in for, realistically, in the next 10, maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think these guys can really, to get a clean, or to get a good second stint, that you can realistically come in now almost, as long as they have the fuel to run to the end. But realistically, I think, like you said, we're going to see them come in the next 10 to 15 minutes, because they will want to extend that first stint out as long as humanly possible to try and close up as much time, or to try to save as much time in the pit stops as possible. Now we look back at a battle here for 26 and 27. This is Core Sim Racing number 2, and the Gaming Paddock Racing number 890 or number 980C, currently battling for 26th and 27th.
Just to give us very confusing things down, but we got the opportunity. No, not quite close enough just yet. Is the Gaming Paddock Racing 980C car? We go on board actually with that treble 8 car of Nascimento as they work through the left-hander. Now, that long sweeping right-hander, which is so deceptive. I remember you can push wide there so easily, but you need good exit speed to work yourself down. It's technically the back straightaway, but of course it's got this big kink in the middle of it. Then you slow yourself down for the chicane. Just look as we go on board of that triple 8. Just look at how they have to abuse those curbs every single lap. They're just putting that car on a bit of lean, and we've got Ronin Simsport then on towards pit road. So this is what we mean by some of these teams maybe coming in early, try and get themselves some clean air.
Yeah, you're exactly right. A couple of the teams trying to get themselves just that little bit of clean air here, and they will come into the box quite early on here, and they will they're currently just now getting their service done on that car. This will be the question that I'll have, is do they take tires or do they stay on the set that they currently have? I haven't seen the car go up on the jacks yet, and they will take tires here.
So that's a good early indication then that people are taking tires. And just as I say that, it does look as though the track's getting a little bit lighter right now as well. I think that some of these teams, especially maybe outside the top 10, I think they might be thinking, okay, I just want to work with what works well for us. And we always say that, there are clouds still in the sky, so the track isn't as hot as it could be here around the Nurburgring, but it's always a risk if you double stint the tyres, and without disrespect to anyone on the track, it's something you do have to either practice or have that inherent skill in order to master. But I say that I think there's less clouds in the sky than we had about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think that we've kind of gotten a little bit more light out on the circuit. There's less clouds in the sky, so the track will start to kind of heat up a little bit again now that there won't be as much cloud cover to keep it cooled off. So now I think we're definitely going to start seeing some drivers taking tires, as we see one driver down on. This is Robbie Foley in the BSNXT car. He will come down at almost exactly 1 hour into this race. 1 hour to go in this 2-hour event.
Yeah, and you just saw them. 60 kilometers an hour is the pit lane speed here. For those of you that want to work out what that is in miles an hour, you basically divide it by 8 and multiply it by 5. I'm not quick enough to do that. I think it's about 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour. I'll do the maths in a moment's time. We've still got some battles going on here. Team Fordzilla, Spain, right now, on board of them, 504 machine. Pablo GoPro Lopez in that 504 car. He's got the Williams Esport Fanatic car with Isaac Price, who of course we saw involved in an incident earlier on in this event. And thank you there, Tyler. 37.7 miles an hour. So I was right the first time. Ish.
Yeah, it's a very slow pit lane here, and it's it's creepy crawly down the pit lane whenever you consider how fast these guys are going on the actual racetrack. But we currently look at the Williams Esports Fanatic car of Isaac Price. He's chasing down the Astra Gaming Altus Esports car just ahead of him for the 15th spot. But we're right on the bumper here, and you can see the Team Fordzilla car of Pablo Lopez as he will try and get by that Williams Esports car. But he's not close enough yet, but we may have side-by-side here for 15th place. Astro Altus Esports, they're having to defend here down into the chicane, and Williams Esports will get that move done. Williams Esports Fanatic now up into 15th spot as Team Redline Black is actually onto the lane.
Yep, so we're going to cut to them in a moment's time. More drivers coming in around them as well. Max Benecke out of the car. Max Verstappen into the car. Let's see what is going to happen here then. There is a look then at Max Verstappen. Is he going to take tyres? He might do. We'll find out. Yes, he is. So there we are. So if Team Redline are going to take tyres, I expect everyone to be taking tyres here today. I'm going to put it as simply as that at this stage.
Yeah, I think most everybody is going to take tires in this event today, as we see actually a lot of drivers down onto the pit lane here, as we're just under that 1 hour mark at the moment. So quite a few drivers deciding this is the time for them to jump onto the lane. Some of those drivers include the Team Redline Orange car, Pure Racing Team, the RAG Esports car. Romain Grosjean is now going to jump behind the wheel of that one. The Prologue Esports Green car, the Simcore 2, HM Engineering, I think, is down onto the lane as well. There is a lot of drivers down onto the lane at this point.
Max Verstappen out and away. 58.8 seconds then is his pit stop. And give you a look, there is your race leader, Glenn Heinrich, on pit road then. He's going to get out of the car in just a moment's time. But first, it is that long drive down pit road before you can actually get into your pit stall. And there's a look at the iRacing safety car as well. For those of you who know that we normally run on road races, I think that BMW might have given themselves a, we'd rather not have a competing German manufacturer being our pace car, Tyler.
Yeah, I think that was probably the logic behind that. So we have the iRacing official pace truck here today that leads the BMWs around, as BS Competition still on the lane here. We'll see what they decide to do, whether they're going to take tires or not. They will. Will the BS Competition number 7? Yes, they will. So I think at this point, it's safe to say everybody is taking tires in this event.
Yep. as we just turn our attention over to those who haven't pitted. Astro Gaming, Altus Esports, still in that battle. I'm surprised, actually, that more people in this pack haven't come on towards pit road, because I think there could have been a serious opportunity to do a mini undercut.
Yeah, I think that you're correct about that one, but I also think the overcut may not be that bad of a strategy to work on right now, because if you can extend this first stint out a little bit longer, then you can gain a lot of time by taking less fuel on board, as well as taking less, taking less fuel on board than having to ride with less fuel for the entire remainder of the stint. So I'm not actually that skeptical of this kind of overcut strategy that some of these guys are running.
Just to let you know, they are all out and away. Alexander Voss is now behind the number 089 car. Pit stop 59.8 seconds. It was a 1 minute point 1 second pit stop for Niels Koch. Both slower, actually, than what Team Redline did. So, not as if it's really going to matter at this stage, but 2 seconds, that might come back to be useful later on. But the thing is, the gap between Verstappen and Niels Koch is currently sat at about 8-9 seconds on track. So we're just having a look here at the BS competition car of Niels Koch. Max Verstappen, however, has got a lot of work to do in this second stint, because it is the number 73 car. We go on board of him right now. I'm going to be very interested to see what the lap times are going to be. Not necessarily this lap, Tyler, but the next lap. If we see a purple time by Max Verstappen, then it could well be a case of race on.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one. I think it's pretty much about how well Verstappen can get this himself back up to speed in that car, and whether or not he's going to be able to close down that. I think I agree with you on that one, that he's really going to need to have some purple lap times here if he wants to have any chance of closing in on your race leaders. The final batch of pit stops have now come in, and everybody will sort of cycle back into their kind of appropriate positions that they were in pre-pit stop phase. But right now, Max Verstappen, he's currently about 10 seconds, I think, off of the BS competition cars.
Yeah, we should get a good understanding in a few moments' time, because the gap between what is technically P3 and P4 at the moment is 9.7 seconds. That is BS competition number 7, Niels Koch, and Verstappen in the 73 car. Worth noting that we haven't got one driver having made... Oh, no, this is MSI Esports. They've rolled the dice.
The MSI Esports have rolled the dice. They're currently 6 seconds ahead of the BS competition number 089 of Alexander Vob. So right now, Salva Talons in the MSI Esports car leading this race.
What did I say, Tyler? Maybe one would do it. It will give us some excitement, but this is going to be now entertaining for at least the next 10 minutes. I'm very interested to see what the lap times will be when they come past the start-finish line in about 20-odd seconds to complete their lap, because that will be the first representative lap time that we have for these drivers. So Sauer Italians in the 04 car is one of the few who haven't taken tyres in their pit stop. And, okay, 1 second is the difference. MSI Esports a 154.5. Alexander Voss in the BS competition a 153.4.
Yeah, you're exactly right. A 1 second difference. That gap is not going to hold on for very long. Max Verstappen comes across the line. He goes just faster than the BS competition number 089, but the BS competition number 7 car still faster than him. So right now, it is not looking good for Team Redline Black. They are not setting the pace that they need to be able to close in that 10-second gap.
Now, it's worth noting that 1 second isn't just the tyres, because, of course, BS competition were a little bit faster, markedly faster, earlier on in this race compared to MSI Esports. MSI Esports may not be thinking about the victory here. What they are thinking of doing is trying to undercut their rivals and finish ahead of them, Tyler. So we've got to make it clear that even though on paper 1 second is a big disadvantage, MSI Esports in reality may not be racing the BS competition, Team Redline Black cars. They're more battling it out, in my opinion. The time that we've got on this race, maybe battling it out against the likes of Williams Esports Razor, AAA Esports Green, just to let you know, who did take tyres that last time around. They did a 154.4 compared to a 154.5 for MSI Esports.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So we'll have to wait and see here exactly how it all, kind of pans out as the race goes on. We still have 50 minutes left to go until we're going to kind of get to that stage where we'll, I think, really know in about 40 minutes time here where MSI Esports will kind of file out in comparison to the other drivers. But yeah, right now they're not putting in the pace to hold on to the race lead. But like you said, that may not be their goal. They may just be trying to finish ahead of some of the other drivers, like in those kind of the fifth on back paddle.
Yeah, as we've just had change for position, that is HM Engineering Red losing out to Williams Esports Chill Blast. Let's get ourselves a second look at that one. And this is through the chicane. Let's have a look from the rear then of HM Engineering, and it is Martin Kristensen. He's in the Williams Esports Chill Blast car. Well, that was, again, I think, just a textbook. Okay, you go through, off you go, have fun.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That was just kind of a textbook pass there for that car, and they'll continue on here. And, yeah, everybody's really spread out in this second kind of bit, but we'll look back a little bit further. This is one of the Williams Esports cars. This is the Williams Esports Fanatic car. Sammy Matti Trogan currently at the wheel of that one, and they're chasing down the BS NXT car, currently being piloted by Kem Bolabasi in 18th place, and then they have the G-Drive car just ahead of them, currently being driven by Scott Andrews, who I believe did not actually do a driver change. So I think Scott is doing that car completely on his own today,
which would likely mean he'll get disqualified at the end of the race due to fair share and driver requirements. But let's go back to the top of your field, shall we? And let's go on board with Salva Talons, as again, they are the team who have decided to stay out in this race. And not stay out, sorry, the team that decided not to take tyres in this race. So they're basically going to do this entire race on one set of tyres. And having a quick look around, and they are down to 3.6 now, the gap between themselves and BS competition. But let's just ride ourselves, if we can, on board for a couple of moments then with this MSI Esports GTE car as they work themselves middle of the racetrack. I do have to say, I love the sweeping right-hander down at Dunlop. It's one of my favourite corners in motorsports. I think it's often forgotten about just how fun it is to drive, Tyler.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Just how much fun this track can be to drive. It is one of the most, I think this is probably one of my favorite tracks in all of Europe to go on and drive. So this is certainly a fun one here, and you're right on board with Salva Talons. You can just see how much these guys are taking curb-wise at this racetrack. That's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that at this track, you take a lot of curb.
Now, it's worth noting that last time around, Team Redline Black had a miserable lap. They did a 154.3. That is 1.4 seconds slower than Voss, and it is 1.1 seconds slower than Neil's coach. In fact, it was just about the same lap time as what Salva Talons is doing. So somewhere along the way, it seems to be that MSI Esports, sorry, Max Verstappen and that Team Redline Black car just had a dodgy lap. It might have been traffic, something off our screen, of course. But for Max Verstappen, not the greatest of laps he had that last time around. Let's actually just have a look then. We can show this one to you now. Look at that lap number 37. 1.2 seconds slower than BS competition.
Yeah, and that is not what they can afford at this point, being 11 seconds back. They need to be putting in laps that are seconds faster, not seconds slower. And right now, he is starting to close up just a little bit here through the first sector, but they need to be closing in exponential amounts of time to Team Redline Black over that BS competition number 7 car if they want to even have a chance at getting into second place in this race. So it is going to be very, very tough for them to do that at this point because they are losing time to those cars not gaining it.
Yeah, indeed. Let's go then and have a look at side by side. Oh, look at that spin. That's Williams Esports Fnatic. That was trying to send it just a little bit too hard, and that's what happens when you get it wrong.
That is exactly what happens when you get it wrong. We'll take a replay of that one here, and we're right on board with Williams Esports Fnatic car. Sammy Trogan just gets it a little bit too hot down into turn number 1. I think he locked the rear end up down into there, and he'll loop the car into turn number 1. And that will be the end of that battle between he and the BS competition, the BS NXT car.
Yeah, let's have another look, shall we, at that one. Let's have a look from the rear of the BS NXT car. Goes down the inside. And then you just start seeing the smoke. And, well, Ken Bullock Bassey is going to be a little bit happy with that one. Because he's got himself now less of a battle, less of a competition going on around him, and that BS NXT car is in 18th place. A little bit further down than I thought they were earlier, actually. But, of course, they're not batting it out anymore with the Williams Esports Fnatic car, who's fallen down. And, HM Engineering back on pit road.
So, H&M Engineering back onto pit road. They were in 13th place, and they will do a driver swap here. Robert Leitner will get back, or Norbert Leitner will get behind the wheel of that car. And that was, are they back on pit road, or did they not come down to pit road yet?
I have no idea, to be fair. I mean, it would have been a very long pit stop, a very long stint, an hour, 15 minutes they would have had to have done, but they are falling down the order dramatically now, down outside of your top 20. The HM Engineering then making themselves a pit stop, and, well, it's time to start thinking about the race lead, because this was Alexander Voss, who did a 59.8 second pit stop earlier on, who has been gaining exponentially over MSI Esports. Look at those lap gaps. 1.3, 1.2, 1.2. Been gaining over Salva Talent. Talent, in my opinion, will make this easy once they get onto the start-finish straight. But we need to get there first. There's also a little bit of lap traffic that might come into play as well. That run down in towards turn number 1. So what's going to happen here? Unfortunately, our camera decided to just switch a little bit early as they come in towards turn number 1, flashing the lights. Down to the inside. Textbook. Easy. No resistance there for MSI.
Yeah, very easy move then for BS Competition. And they will move themselves back up into the race lead. But to give you an update there, as we'll see a replay on board the MSI car, to give you an update on HM Engineering, I believe they had to come down onto the pit lane at around lap 5 to repair a bit of damage, possibly. And that is why they were able to continue so much longer into this race. Got ya.
So, MSI Esports down in second place, but that does explain the HM Engineering situation, also why they're pretty far down in your field. MRC DE Carbon scrapping it out here with Team Redline Orange. This is a battle going on for 10th place on track. Did they just change places down in turn number 1?
I believe they may have. Yes, they did. That was a change of position. SimRC.DE Carbon passed by the Team Redline Orange. We'll get a replay up on your screen now, and we'll see the pass being made down into turn number 1. It's a pretty simple pass there for the Team Redline car, but we're right on board with the SimRC.DE Carbon vehicle, and we'll see the view from him as they head down into turn number 1.
Yep, And again, this looks to be moderately textbook. No flashing of the lights here. Just sends it down the inside. MRC, always known to be one of the most respectful teams in GT endurance racing, allowing them to position, and that is switching. So Team Redline Orange now inside of the top 10. MRC Carbon just falling out of the top 10. BS competition number 7. They are going to be in a situation maybe at some point in this lap where they're going to be right behind and able to pass Silver Talons, but they weren't close enough there down into turn number 1. This is what I mean, that MSI Esports aren't just going to drive off the road and let people go past. Of course they wouldn't. I think if they get alongside, they'll keep it easy. The next opportunity really will be down into Dunlop, if we're lucky. But we've also got Team Redline Orange. They just had a massive off there, Tyler. Talk us through it.
So we'll get a replay up on your screen. It was a big slide there for the Team Redline Orange car, and they will completely skip the chicane and stop there on the racetrack. It was just I think, did Patrick Moser have a wheel disconnect?
Yeah, that's a hardware failure.
Yeah, that's a hardware failure for him because he went flying off the racetrack.
Yeah, that's clearly a hardware failure. I mean, let's be honest. I'm glad that happened now. You never want anything bad to happen to a driver, of course. But I'm glad that happened now, not 20 minutes ago when pit road was going to be busy.
Yeah, you're exactly right, because that could have easily cost a lot of drivers their races here if that had happened. And yeah, you could just see complete hardware failure and just unable to continue there. But that was unfortunate because it was a pretty good battle between him and the SimRC Carbon car. So unfortunate there for Team Redline Orange. They are going to drop all the way to the rear of the field, and they are completely out of this event.
Yeah, and you just note the steering angle. That's a telltale sign of a hardware failure because the driver's not doing anything there at all. That's a shame for Team Redline Orange. They just, of course, passed SimRC to get themselves up into the top 10. So that will re-promote SimRC into the top 10 there. Bit of bad luck for Team Redline and their orange car. That's a shame because I was thinking they might have actually been trying to do a late race charge over the two Williams Esports cars in P8 and P9. It was within the realms of possibility because that Team Redline Orange car was moving at a rate of knots. Now, just to confirm, by the way, BS competition number 7 did get themselves past MSI Esports. It's not really worth the need for a replay again, to be honest, but AAA Esports Green versus Williams Esports Razor. This is battle for number 6 on track right now. Rafael Rezag in the 999 car and Williams Esports Razor's Andre Borcher in the number 6 former iRacing World Championship Series driver is Andre Borcher. And this is a strap for 6 on track. Confirm both of them did take tyres. Williams Esports car was about a second longer on pit road that last time around. And you can see the lap times, well, they ebb and flow.
Yeah, you're exactly right. One will gain time, one will lose time in the next couple of laps. So this is a pretty static battle at the moment, but everybody is very, very close. I would be surprised if these guys get a little bit, let's just say, closer and a little bit more feisty towards the end of this one when they all start to close up. And you can see the Williams Esports Racer flashing the headlights at the lap car. He wants to get him out of the way, and this is costing him loads of time over the AAA Esports green car.
Yep, and you know what flashing light means? Move out my way. Even if you're half a lap back, it means move out of my way. Flashing the headlights again. But the thing is, blue flag rules, of course, are informational only. It is the responsibility of the passing driver to execute a clean and safe pass. And one of the things I often... You see, this is actually the situation. What you sometimes do when you start flashing those lights, you can distract the driver and you actually make it harder to execute that safe lapping.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Whenever you start flashing them a little bit too much, somebody starts paying a little bit more attention on you than they do on the road, and then it ends up costing you more time, and it ends up making your life much, much more difficult here. And you can see Williams Esports, they try to go to the inside and get blocked off on the inside, and then the car moves back to the outside, and they're able to get the move done and lap that car. So that was interesting, to say the least. But like you said, the flashing lights can almost hurt you sometimes more than they help you.
And this is then actually what happened. After that, what you saw is AAA Esports Green Estate. They are actually now in 8th place. They are ahead of the Williams Esports Chill Blast car and right on the tail of Andre Borcher still. So they didn't change positions. That was just me being ineptitude, showing a level of ineptitude. But Rafael Rezeg in the 999 car, still within half a second, and it has made this battle all that much closer as we head ourselves to the last 35-ish minutes of this race.
Yeah, we head down to about the 30-minute mark left to go, so we're about three-fourths of the way through this event. We got about 1/4 of the way left in this 2-hour event, and this is still a very, very close battle. The Williams Esports BenQ car getting closer to that AAA Esports Green as well, who's then getting closer to the Williams Esports Razor car. So these three are in a very, very tight-knit scrap.
It is great to watch then as they work through that final corner once again. There's that little hotel on the left-hand side of the racetrack in that final corner. I had the opportunity to stay at, actually, a couple of years ago at Sim Racing Expo. You get this wonderful look onto the racetrack. If you ever do get the chance and you've got the money to go to the Grand Prix or to any one of these big, of course, motor racing events in style, when motor racing, of course, resumes, then I would highly recommend that. I will, of course, say, I had the opportunity to stay in the hotel. I was so busy working that weekend, Tyler, I didn't actually see more than about 2 minutes worth of on-track action over the entire weekend.
Yeah, that's unfortunately for a lot of people, that's what they would be. You know, I mean, it would be, you get about a couple minutes of actually watching the racing, and you're just working for the rest of the time that you're over there. As now we see the Williams Esports Fanatic car and the BSNXT car. They are now starting to battle for P number 16 here, and Sami Trogan gonna have to defend there from Kembal Abbasi here in just a few moments' time.
Just behind as well, you've actually got Roman Grosjean in the R8G esports car and the Team Fordzilla car, which has now got Alex Palou taking over from Pablo GoPro Lopez. This is a scrap for 18th place on track as we look from the rear of Roman Grosjean's R8G esports car with the number 5 for some strange reason, but you know, and it's Alex Palou in the Team Fordzilla car just behind. So 2 Formula 1 drivers in the race here today, and Alex Palou is putting that pressure though on in that 504 Team Fordzilla car.
Yeah, he really is. He's putting the pressure then on that RAG Esports car, and we'll continue to ride on board with the Team Fordzilla car as they'll work their way through, and he's trying to push Romain Grosjean into a mistake here. Is that Team Fordzilla car, and he wants to try to make this move, but he's just not close enough yet. He's getting a little bit of a slipstream though, down the back straightaway and into the chicane, and that's something that we really haven't talked about here, but the slipstream can make a slight difference in these cars. It doesn't make a large difference, but it can make a very small difference.
Yeah, and you've also got Timo Vati just behind in the Project R GT car as they will come past the stripe once again. Don't know why. Our camera pack wanted to show us a load of trees there, but the gap is 1/10 of a second, 2/10 of a second between them. They're still battling out, and of course, we talked earlier on, Tyler, that the packs will be useful for fuel saving, not in stint number 2. These packs are just an unnecessary distraction, annoyance, and anyone right now would rather be at the front of the pack than in the middle of it.
Yeah, I think that we can all agree on that one. I mean, whenever you're a racing driver, you obviously always want to be at the front of the pack, and this is one of those times where I think people are going to start getting a little bit impatient maybe with this. They're going to try to make up the moves quicker than they normally would, knowing that we're kind of coming to the ending portion of this race and they need to get that move done or they may not be able to get it done in this event. So this is when everybody starts to get a little bit more impatient and moves start to become a little bit more aggressive because that they think that they don't have enough time to get it done.
And there's a look at Philip Eng in the number 25 car as he's battling out at the rear of this pack, just outside the top 20. And not anymore, he won't be, because, well, they just had contact down into that long sweeping right-hander. Replay coming up now for you. Let's have ourselves another look at this one. They'll do it first of all on board of Philip Eng. This is through start in the Michael Schumacher S.
Yeah, and as we'll ride on board with Philip Eng, let's see exactly what happened here. What happens to the car ahead of him? This is what I'm interested in. So go down the inside, and a little bit of contact is made. I just don't think that they left enough room for Philip to go down the inside there.
I don't think either of them left enough room by the look of it. It looks to be a late pass. This angle will be a little bit deceptive, but it's going to show us. But Ben was actually all the way down on the grass heading into that part of the corner, let's be honest.
Yeah, he was definitely in the grass, to say the least. That was aggressive. That's what we're going to see here in this final few minutes here, is aggressive moves are going to start becoming the normal because people are just at that kind of dire straight stage of the race.
And that last lap, they lost 3 seconds over Kinya Mancini in the Ronin Sim Sports car and the number 78. Well, that's going to take a couple of laps, but I think that will come back together in the latter stages of this event. AAA Esports haven't found a way past Williams Esports BenQ yet, so they remain in that formation, being the kind of meat in a Williams Esports sandwich, or if you're vegetarian or vegan, the vegan meat in a Williams Esports sandwich as they battle out. You've got 3 Williams Esports cars inside your top 10, P6, P7, P9 right now, and this can actually work out to their advantage a little bit. You talk about a moment ago, Tyler, that the draft is something that you take into consideration, but it's not as big as what you'd see, in a Formula car, as an example. What it does, however, do is if you've got a load of teammates in the same piece of real estate, you can draft each other and make it harder for a competitor to find a way to make an overtaking off.
Yeah, you're exactly right on that one. And as we still ride on board here with the AAA Esports green car, they're still chasing down that Williams Esports car just ahead of them. And it's a lot of Williams Esports cars in one shot as, it's just getting to the latter stages of this race now. Everyone started to settle in, and you've kind of got to make your moves more mentally than you do physically. This is the best way, I think, to make moves at this point in the race. Everyone's, kind of been about halfway through their stint that they will have done. So this is kind of the time where you could start trying to make the drivers make little mistakes, and that's a nice way to get by.
Yeah, as we have got themselves BMW Esports Team Red Line Blue, P number 11, P number 12. Then I've had quiet race, the easiest way I can say it here today. That we've not actually spoken about them at all in this race until about now. But what I do want to do is just show you quickly the movers and shakers in this event. Of course, it's a team event. So those of you just joining us, the first hour or so was spent with one driver. The second hour has been spent with the drivers that you see on your screen right now. But for Zenith, they are down at 9 places while they qualified. So I think they got involved in those incidents on lap number 1, Tyler. They were the biggest casualty of that.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. And right now they're trying to just kind of move their way back up through the field. They're trying now to get by this Team Red Line Blue car, move themselves back up to 11th place, and at least just try to salvage what could be a decent day for them.
As the biggest mover inside your top 10 is the Williams Esports BenQ car, up 20 places, and there is a reason for that. And it's just because of the fact they've just been incredible in working through that pack. They did take tyres on that pit stop. Astro Gaming Altus Esports, by the way, they're up 15 places on the road here today. Now, they didn't take tyres on their pit stop, so they are ones now where it'll be more interesting to keep an eye out and see what their lap times are compared to those around them. And note that Pure Racing Team last time by 1.7 seconds faster.
Yeah, 1.7 seconds faster for the Pure Racing Team driver there ahead of the Astro Gaming Altus Esports car. So they are gaining a load of time, and this is not a one kind of lap deal. They have been consistently at that 155 pace as the Astro Gaming Altus Esports cars. So they are losing a load of time here, and I think it's only a matter of time at this point before Pure Racing Team actually get by them.
And also, don't forget, you've got G-Drive Racing Eximia just behind them as well. So, a lot of action still to go. 25 minutes and change remaining in this race. Thank you for spending your Sunday afternoon with us here on Racesport TV, on the iRacing Esports Network, and across BMW Motorsports social media channels. This is the third of 6 BMW Sim 120 Cup races for 2020. The first race was won by Team Redline GT, Max Benecke and Max Venig. The second of those races was won by BRS Carana Simmersports, Joshua Rogers and Mitchell de Jong. As a consequence, they have already punched themselves tickets to Munich at the end of the year for the BMW Sim Live event. However, we're going to see who will be next to join them. And we've got 25 minutes until that one is going to be worked out. We're looking at this battle for 13th, 14th, 15th place on track right now. This is Astro Gaming Altus Esports and Pure Racing Team. You might be wondering, why is Pure Racing Team been closing so quickly? Well, that's because Pure Racing Team took tyres. Like most of the teams out there, Astro Gaming Altus Esports, they tried to roll the dice. And actually, I will say, Tyler, they are in a position where, according to my maths, they might just benefit out of it, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, and the other driver who didn't take tires, you can see now the Pure Racing Team driver down the inside, and that will be a pretty simple move for him. Easily done, and he will move up into 13th. But the other car who didn't take tires is Salva Talons in the MSI Esports GTE car. Max Verstappen is now just about to get by him down into turn number 1, and this should be another pretty simple move for the Team Redline Black car. But Salva Talons has actually done a quite good job at keeping those tires underneath that MSI car because of the fact that, I mean, he didn't take tires, and honest to God, he hasn't lost a whole lot of time.
No, he hasn't. And it's worth noting that, as I said, that cut-off point was about what the track weather was earlier on. We'll just have a quick look at the track conditions now. Still 21 degrees, 31 degrees on track, and that is for me about that cut-over point. If it was maybe 2-3 degrees cooler on track, you might have seen more drivers risk it, but of course you've got to also hope that the track temperature doesn't spike in the second part of these races as well, because otherwise you'd have ended up even in a world of pain. Pure Racing Team are battling it out with G-Drive. Actually, what's happened to Astro? They've just lost a load of places there. Now, I know they were going to lose something. Did they just mess up the chicane?
I'm trying to figure out the same thing, what just happened to them. Let's watch this. Replay now up on your screen. We're on board with the Astro Gaming Altus Esports car, and they'll head through the chicane. It looks pretty clean there.
They'd already been passed at that point, and that's part of the reason why. Actually, what I was seeing on my timing screen was G-Drive Racing Team and Pure Racing Team getting very close together as they work down towards turn number 1.
And we'll see it here. Down into turn number 1. They go for the block. Does the Williams Esports team or the Pure Racing team, and that's a little bit of contact there between them and the G-Drive car. Everybody keeps it together, though, and that is not usually what you see whenever you're making a a little bit of contact down into turn number 1 that usually ends in quite a big incident.
I'm sure the touring car fans watching will think that's not contact, that's just a friendly gesture. Say hello to one another. We go on board at Alex Arana right now in the Williams Esports BenQ car. It's worth noting, by the way, oh my word, I say that, they've just lost it down at turn number 1.
So Alex Arana will lose the rear end of that car. He'll lose a load of time. Now he'll be side by side with his teammate in the other Williams Esports car. There's another driver off as well. Pure Racing Team has spun it round. He will lose a load of time. So drivers losing it here at this 1 minute.
It's silly moment going on in this race. Here's Pure Racing Team. They just outbrake themselves. I think they're trying to be a little bit too pretty there. They just outbrake themselves, and let's have another look from up above coming into the corner. Don't think there was any contact.
I don't think there was either. I think that was just a simple loss to the rear end for Pure Racing Team, which caused them to lose the rear end of that car.
Yeah, and now I want to have a look at Alex Arana, if possible. And this is a replay, and I was about to say that he's pulled out, and he's got himself clear of the Williams Esports Chill Blast car and AAA Esports Green. And then, just as I was saying that, curse of the commentator strikes once again. Here's Alex Arana down into turn number 1. He had to avoid running over his own teammate.
So there we go. Avoids running over his own teammate, and which I think he probably made the best decision he could have there to not run over your teammate, because yeah, that can be a messy one if you do. But we'll look at this one more time on board there. And yeah, just a very simple spin down into turn number 1. But one battle that's starting to heat up here. This is AAA Esports Green and Williams Esports Chill Blast on our live pictures.
Yeah, and this has all kind of come back together because of the kind of bunching we just saw a lap ago. So Rafael Rezag now is in a situation where in that 999 car in 9th place, been able to close a little bit. I say, by the way, worth noting that MSI Esports GTE have just lost a place to MRC DE Titan, and what I wanted to see has just happened, but it's actually ended in a bit of calamity. We saw the 2 orange and blue cars come to, in the same picture. Astra Gaming Altus Esports and R8G Esports were on with Roman Grosjean behind the wheel, but it looks as though the R8G Esports had a moment themselves down in towards the chicane. It's a little highlight moment going on here. Everyone wants to be on TV, and in doing so, it seems to be everyone's making some mistakes. Did he get 4 wheels over there and had to slow? Yeah, he did. He did.
Exactly.
So that's exactly what happened for him. Let's get ourselves another look if we can. And this is going to be from up above down into... And you see, he goes down the inside, overshoots there. And then, yep, all 4 wheels over that white line. And as a consequence of that, that is going to be a slowdown penalty.
Yep, so a slowdown penalty there for Roman Grosjean in the RAG Esports car, and he will have to serve that and get back running here after he does, and he will lose a couple of positions in the process.
I would say, though, not the best way of serving a slowdown penalty. I think Roman just slammed on the brakes a bit there. That could have caused a lot of people to check up, almost causing an incident. And I think this is where that kind of sim racing knowledge can kind of come in. We talked about this at Daytona. The best way of serving a penalty, a slowdown penalty at Daytona, is you basically just run the outside line at 80% throttle. And that way you give that time back, but you don't end up having to then re-accelerate. I think for Roman, he could have done the same thing. Just, lifted off the throttle on the run through the final corner, down the front straightaway, would have hurt him a little bit less.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one. I think that would have cost him a little bit less time there, and he would have, kind of got back going a little bit quicker, as there's the driver of the Astra Gaming Altus Esports car. They've lost a couple of positions. They lost a position to Rowan Simsport 2. Now they've lost another. Now they're just about to lose another position to the ZF BMW team and possibly the Team Fordzilla as well. So they're losing a lot of time here as the Astro Gaming Altus Esports car.
And, of course, this is the car that didn't take tyres. And as it stands right now, they are going to be at a net loss, Tyler. So until recently, it looked as though things might have been going in their favour. But that mid-packet's been so close together that as soon as one goes past, you're offline, dirty, part of the racetrack, giving and conceding positions. It seems to be a bit of a pendulum effect right now for this number 83 team.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one. I think it's, kind of, I mean, once you start losing one place, the rest just kind of come a little bit easier. And it looks to me like they're just struggling being on that one or the no tire strategy. They've just lost so much time in doing so. And now I think it'll kind of cycle out a little bit because they have about a 20-second gap back to the Glowing Disc Motorsport yellow team, who is the driver down to 22nd place. But we jump back here to right around 11th place is the Zenith Esports team and Team Redline Blue. These guys are starting to form up a battle here in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, as the gap that we've got right now between the two of these teams is about half of a second, as they are down almost to the last 15 minutes worth of racing on track. Let's go on board for a couple of moments, shall we, with Zenith Esports, and just talk us through this first sector, this first part of the lap, Tyler.
Yeah, we'll ride on board with the Zenith Esports car. We'll go in. This is a very crucial corner right here, this left-hander in the Mercedes arena, as you'll set you up for the right-hander and then onto one of the mini straights on this racetrack. Now we'll head down into another left-hander. Again, you gotta sacrifice this corner to get a good run through the right-hander. And that was, kind of the first section there with the Zenith Esports car. Yeah, and the Williams Esports Chill Blast car just ahead of them. Still runs in 8th place, but we're going to keep it with Zenith for the moment. I think this is a more entertaining battle as things stand. One thing that we're talking about Team Redline, we're going to talk about Max Verstappen in a moment. But, of course, they won the first of these events, Tyler. They had themselves a great showing at Daytona. Today, they've done a good job, of course, a podium finish and some cash prizes there for Max Verstappen and Max Benecke. I just think they've been outdriven by BS competition today. Yeah, I think you're right about that one. I think it's just been, they've just been outdriven a little bit by them, and they've obviously, BS competition has pulled a massive gap over that Team Redline black car, and they're currently sitting at 13 seconds. And, they've just outpaced that Team Redline card today.
Yeah, as they run out the final corner there for Zenith Esports and Sergey Segara as they come past the start-finish line again. Now, let's go and talk about Max Verstappen, because he is running in 3rd place, and the gap between himself and the race leader is 16 seconds. And Verstappen, well, of course, we saw him in the World Championship action yesterday, part of that famous 1-2 we talked about earlier, Untitled, the first one for Team Redline in about 5 years. You had to go back to Okayama in the old World Championship Grand Prix series back in, 2015, I said it was. So they had a great day yesterday. They're having a good day here today. But for Verstappen, it seems to be that he's also just having a bit of fun just driving around right now. Haven't seen him be too aggressive. Haven't seen him really be flashing the lights at people that much, even when working through traffic.
Yeah, I think at this point he's just out there kind of having a little bit of fun, getting that car to the end of this one. I think they know that they're really not in contention for the race lead at this point. They've just been outpaced a little bit, and it's just about getting that car to the end of this event and not losing any more time than they already have, and just keeping that car clean in the last 12 minutes of this one.
Yep, we've done 57 laps worth of racing now here at the Nurburgring. And don't forget, of course, the next one of these BMW Sim 120 Cup races will take place. Oh, we've got a spinner. Number 51 car. That will take place at Le Mans Circuit de la Sarthe in about a month's time from now. We'll get the replay, though, first of all, with Kokoro FP0 Esports Red. That was a mouthful. And it's going to be a handful for them down in towards turn number 1 by the looks of it.
And it looks like that was an interesting spin.
I think they lost
it
first, then they had contact.
And then they had contact, but I just want to know how they lost it. That's the part that I'm confused on here, because it looked to me like a very slow entry into the corner, and the rear end just comes around. Contact is made, and they have to spin that car back around.
And they are now down in P number 29 on track. By the way, retirees, it's been a low level of attrition, I'll say that. Red Bull Racing Esports and Sebastian Job, they were the first car out. Of course, they were an innocent bystander. We've got to be honest here, Tyler. And the moments down on lap number 1. And Seb, of course, we hyped them up at the start of this race. He said that maybe it could well have been their day here today. But what actually ended up happening was they were out early. Of course, they had to try to take the escape, the exit the final corner. And consequently, they ended up hitting the tyre barrier.
Yeah, exactly. Ended up hitting the tire barrier, and unfortunately, they ended their day before it really even begun for that Red Bull Racing Esports team. And like you'd said, it was a pretty gutting day yesterday for them, and now another bad day today. But hopefully that is the end of the bad luck for the Red Bull Racing Esports team, and they can get back to going again here soon, because they really have had a rough 2 days in world, not only this but also the World Championship yesterday.
Yeah, Shinya Mancini, by the way, is right behind Pure Racing Team. The scrap going on for P16 on track right now, seeing as there's not really much in terms of battling going on inside the top 10. The closest battle we got are 2 teammates, so we're not going to spend too much time looking at this. We are going to look at the burnt orange car, our Shinya Mancini in the Ronin Sim Sports car. He's got himself Pure Racing Team, Nicholas Lawback just ahead of him. Of course, Pure Racing Team, for the most part, got absolved into red line at the start of the year. There are some of those who are keeping the Pure Racing name alive. However, Mancini is going to go down to the outside as they come down towards turn number 1. And isn't actually able to make the pass unless he can do the old switcheroo. He tries that, taking a very shallow line through turn number 1. Now through 2 they come. It's worth noting R8G Esports and the SF BMW team aren't that far behind as it stands. We'll go back on board with Machimi as they work on the exit of turn number 4 now. And I honestly thought that Ronan should have got that pass complete down into turn number 1.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the exact same thing. They really should have gotten that pass completed into turn number 1, but nonetheless, they will have to stick behind the Pure Racing Team car at the moment and just wait for their opportunity. But they've got to make it quick, because Romain Grosjean and the RAG Esports car, they are closing in fast.
And look at that bump drafting on the way down to the Michael Schumacher S. I think a switch was just flicked there for Mancini's. We just see that is what the gap is behind. It's only about 1.1 seconds right now, and Romain Grosjean gained half a second that last time around, and all of a sudden there's a slight sense of urgency creeping into this number 78 Ronin Sim Sports car, and it looks as though actually Pure Racing Team have hit the incident limit.
So Pure Racing Team out of this race. They hit the incident limit there. What exactly happened? It was just a slight bit of contact, and then they were gone there.
That's naughty, in my opinion.
Yes, that was very naughty by that Rowan Simsport team.
Because we saw them essentially bump drafting all the way from the exit of the kind of 180-degree corner down at Dunlop. And for me, I'm going to call that naughty because, of course, I didn't see anything there for Pure Racing Team that would indicate that they'd had an incident, they'd gone off track or something. So that would have been caused only by car-to-car contact. And I'm trying very hard to be polite and respectful in my comments there, but that was not the most impressive thing I've seen today. We go on board with Philip Eng, and Philip Eng is in the... By the way, have they just swapped positions at the front of the field?
They have. What's happened? What's happened?
Now, is this strategic? is this? Oof. So.
Oh, no, it's a spin.
Oh, what happened?
It's a spin out of the chicane for the BS competition number 089.
They've led all day long.
They've led all day long, and it's the slightest of mistakes. You'll see it on the replay here. They'll get out onto the grass and loop the car to the inside, have to lock it down, and that will cost them the lead. Nels Koch in the BS competition number 7 car leads this one out by 0.8 of a second over their teammates.
Opa is the only thing I can say there. Let's another look then. And I want to show you this one again through the entirety of the chicane. We only caught the back end of that there. I want to show the entirety of that because he just seemed to be... We've always seen these drivers be aggressive over the chicane. It's the way you've got to do it. But into the left-hander, bounce over the curb. He's unsettled on the second part there. Just pushes a little bit wide after 1 hour, 55 minutes of almost faultless racing. I mean, at least it's his teammate that's passed him.
Yeah, at least it's his teammate that's passed him, but you know that he is going to be furious with himself, throwing away a 2-second lead over his teammate. But this could be an amazing battle between the two BS competition cars here, heading down into the final few minutes of this.
And the good thing for them is that there's still 14 seconds between themselves and Team Redline. And I just wanted to highlight for you right there. Look at that 3.9 seconds that he lost. And it's lucky that you've got a teammate behind. I've seen over the years teams have heartbreaking moments at the Nurburgring after leading for so long. Nels Koch now leads the way in this race. Everything has changed itself around in the last couple of moments. By the way, we've got Astro Gaming Artis Esports just about losing a place to Glowing Disc Motorsports Yellow. Astro Gaming Artis Esports, of course, is a team that decided to not take tyres, and I think that their tyres have just given up all hope of life in the last 15 minutes or so, Tyler.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. I think they've pretty much just given up on those tires at this point. That is just completely done for. And they are pretty much just trying to get that car to the end of this race at this point. 4 minutes left to go in this one. But what changes we have seen in a matter of minutes here.
And it's worth noting the other team who didn't take tyres, worth noting, was Zenith Esports. They've fallen down to 12th place, but they, of course, were in a... No, they did take tyres. My timing screen's just completely lying to me. I know what I'm talking about, honest. But it's worth noting again, go back to the front of your field, that Alexander Voss is within a second. Do you dare let the drivers fight in these last 2 laps?
In my opinion, you do. You let them fight it out, because at the end of the day, yes, it's a team event, but they're racing each other. They both want to punch their ticket to Munich at the end of the year. So in my opinion, yeah, fight it out between the two in the final few minutes.
It was MSI Esports, not Zenith Esports, who were the team that decided not to take tyres in that first pit stop. They're running in P number 9, so it's worth noting that for them, they are actually also in exactly the same situation. They're losing lap time dramatically. They might lose out to Sim RC DE Carbon at the end of this race, because look at that, 2.6 seconds. There's 2 laps of this race to go. I think that MSI Esports might just be able to hold on to a top 10, though.
Yeah, they should be able to just hold on to a top 10 finish here, will MSI Esports, and that'll be a quite good result for them, considering they didn't take tires. That was a very big gamble for them to not do that. But looking at the front of the field here, Nels Koch has just about a 7-second lead over his teammate in the number 89 car, but he's not gaining all that much time, is Alexander Vob.
Yeah, and Alexander Voss right now, 0.7 of a second back. It is worth noting that the gap between these two drivers all race long, Tyler, has never been more than about 5 seconds. So It's worth noting that they are being so close together. There's the lap traffic. That's Astro Gaming Altus Esports. You got to be careful because you get single file around here. But then Astro Gaming Altus Esports will allow BS Competition's 089 car to go past into the chicane. Gap is still about 0.6 of a second. That looks a lot closer. Is that a slowdown penalty there? Oh my word, more drama in the last lap, because this is going to be the white flag lap of this race, and business has picked up once again.
So they'll take the white flag here onto the final lap of the race. It's another mistake for a BS competition car into the chicane. Side by side now down into turn number 1. Alexander Voss will take the lead from his teammate, and he'll push him off of the track there. Noskosh has to take to the dirt, and he will now be on the back foot heading down into turn number 1. Replay up on your screen of exactly what happened to him.
Yep, so let's do the whole 4-wheel test, shall we? Into the chicane. Yep. Slow down penalty. Slow down penalty there for Niels Koch then. Well, it came at the worst possible moment for him then. After leading a handful of laps, it allows Alexander Voss to go back to the race lead on the last lap of the motor race. A drama all the way to the end here in the BMW Sim 120 Cup from the Nurburgring. We go back to live pictures. Alexander Voss, once again your leader, with half a lap to go. 30 seconds remaining on the play clock as they work through the Michael Schumacher S there into the left-hander. Wow, we've had ourselves an entertaining last 15 minutes of this motor race, but the play clock will expire at the time they get towards the chicane, and let's just hope they can both make it then through this final couple of corners without further incident or calamity. It was Alexander Voss who spun the car with just a handful of laps to go. Then his teammate Niels Koch, when overtaking and taking that race lead, has a slowdown penalty coming to the white flag. It doesn't really matter because BS Competition claim a 1-2. Alexander Voss in the 089 car is your winner here today, along, of course, with his teammate, Lauren Heinrich, who started the car. Niels Koch, second place in the number 7 car, and Verstappen has just come past the start-finish line to take third place for Team Redline Black.
And there was a change for position for the 6th spot here. Williams Esports Chill Blast gets 6th over the number 86 of Williams Esports BenQ. In the final stages of this one, we'll get a replay up on your screen here of how they did it. But they did it heading out of the final chicane, and that final chicane has thrown up a lot of drama in this race.
Looking on board with Martin Kristensen. This is the last corner, and again, a slowdown penalty. It seemed to be as these tyres got worn and slick at the end of this race. More and more drivers, Tyler, were just bulking under the pressure of that chicane. And well, you said to me it was a version of the chicane that you didn't like. And it's given us some great racing here.
Yeah, I think my impression of that chicane has changed after this event because it has provided some incredible action points to this event. It has been absolutely incredible to watch here. BMW 120 from Nurburgring. What a race we just witnessed.
Time to look then at your post-race results. And it is a 1-2 for BS Competition after 120 minutes worth of racing. Winning by 1.4 over teammate Niels Koch. But you know what? Those numbers only tell the slightest part of the story of the last 20 minutes of this race. Team Redline Black come home third place with SimRC DE Titan in 4th. And then 3 Williams Esports cars in a row. Williams Esports Razor in P5, Williams Esports Chill Blast in P6, Williams Esports BenQ in P number 7. AAA Esports Green, they fought hard, often, over the last hour to try and find a way past some of the Williams Esports cars, but to no avail. Team RC DE Carbon come home 9th, and the gamble, well, it paid off for MSI Esports. They were able to secure a top 10 finish, being the only car in the top 10 not take tyres on that pit stop. Team Redline Blue in 11th place, with Zenith Esports in 12th, G-Drive Racing Exemia in 13th place, with Williams Esports Fnatic in 14th, and then the BS NXT car rounding out the top 15. Remainder of those results coming up on your screen right now, as it's been a great day's worth of racing, Tyler. Absolutely great day's worth of racing. And of the 3 BMW Sim 120 events that we've had the pleasure of calling this year, they've each been so different. And I think a part of that is the fact that, you know, this race was all about trying to get yourself opportunities. Daytona was all about fuel management. Sebring is always Sebring. Today, we've had, in my opinion, a classic 2-hour event.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We've had an incredible 2-hour event here today from the Nurburgring. This has been, I think, one of, if not the best races that we've had thus far in the season. This has been action-packed all the way through. I mean, this track really did deliver.
Last lot of your results coming up on your screen. Note the fact, by the way, that we had 34 drivers classified finishing the race out of the 45 that started. So overall, a very low level of attrition.
Yeah, overall, this was a very clean race for a lot of these people. Not a whole lot of issues further back, and a lot of drivers finishing this one out. A very good day for a lot of them, but also a very disappointing day for some that had incidents early.
And, of course, we have still got more to come this season with the BMW 120, BMW Sim 120 Cup. Half the season is now in the books. And we've got Team Redline with Max Benecke and Max Venig, who have punched their tickets to Munich, along with VRS Commander Sim Sport, Joshua Rogers and Mitchell de Jong. They were some of the drivers who were in Munich last year. They're some of the drivers that we often see on the big stage of iRacing big special events. Well, they're joined now by Alexander Voss and Lauren Heinrich after they lucked out in the end, but it seemed to be they put the pressure on and were able to get themselves victory in that BS competition 1-2. We're going to talk to them in a couple of moments' time. 3 races still to go, and there's still 3 very different racetracks. We've got July the 5th. We go to Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. And, of course, Spa needs absolutely no introduction. Road Atlanta, September the 20th. That is going to be the one, the race that you want to put a little asterisk next to. The race that, you know, anything could really happen there. The first lap could be so chaotic. Traffic will be a big issue on a 45-car field in such a short lap time. It's one where you've got to keep your emotions deliberately in check, because Road Atlanta is a track that likes to mess with your mind, and if you let it, it can completely destroy your entire race. And then the end of our 6-race season will be at Interlagos, November the 6th. Followed, we hope, touch wood, in December by going to Munich to have ourselves an in-person competition to wrap up BMW Motorsports iRacing competition for 2020. A reminder that Lauren Heinrich and Alexander Voss are also now a cool $1,200 richer. Not bad for Sunday afternoon's worth of work. As well as getting themselves entry, accommodation and travel to that end-of-year sim racing event in Munich. Second place, the other BS competition car. Well, they get $600 per driver. So yeah, they did lose out at the end, but still a nice payday for them on a Sunday afternoon. And then for Team Redline, for Max Benecke and Max Verstappen, $300 in the bank. But I'm sure for Max Verstappen, that's probably just going to be a little bit of pocket money. Let's then talk to your race-winning drivers. We start off with, with Lauren Heinrich and Alexander Voss, who managed to claim victory. But the thing that we all want to talk about, Alex, was what's happened in that last 20 minutes.
Hey, yeah, I mean, that was a super intense race for us. I made a little mistake right at the end. Niels and I pretty much had the same speed, therefore the gap was still the same as we entered or exit the pits. Yeah, I made a little mistake there in the chicane. Niels did basically exactly the same a couple of laps after, and yeah, then we had a little fight.
And what was going through your mind at the very, very end of the race, with one lap to go, when all of a sudden you ended up seeing your teammate in all sorts of circumstances, and all of a sudden you had the race lead again?
I mean, right after my incident, it was heartbreaking for me, to be honest. I mean, Lauren did another great performance in the qualifying and also in the race. Therefore, I had really, to struggle with that mistake. But also the tires were really super hot and warm. Therefore, yeah, it was difficult, and I just had some hopes Niels would follow me and will do a mistake as well. And yeah. I mean, usually you don't hope your teammate will do a mistake, but yeah, in this race, I can't really lie on that.
And we've got Lauren Heinrich here as well, of course, started the race here this afternoon. How was your experiences? Because you avoided some of the pandemonium that was going off just around you at the start of the race, but it seemed to be that keeping your head down in those first couple of laps gave you the momentum that you needed to really pull away and solidify your status.
Yeah, I mean, the pole position was quite crucial to stay out of trouble, obviously. As we've seen in lap 1, there was a huge pile-up, so I was quite happy to stay out of that. And then, yeah, I knew I had to push as hard as I could. And it paid off. I could get a little gap, but in the end, yeah, I got the payback for that because my tires were quite worn. But still, I think it was a good strategy, and also Alex did a good job after his mistake to keep as cool as possible and finish the race.
Well, you are now punching yourselves a ticket to Munich at the end of the year. Of course, hopefully, touch wood, the event will still be taking place. We don't know what the world situation is going to be in 6 months' time, but how does it feel to be alongside the names of Max Benecke, Max Venig, Joshua Rogers, and Mitchell de Jong as winners of a BMW Sim 120 event in 2020?
Yeah, I mean, it feels great. After my P2 finish last year with only 7,000 gap, I have a goal, obviously. And yeah, I'm looking forward.
Well, thank you very much. Before we let you go, I'm going to allow Alex to do the shout-outs on this one.
Yeah, thanks first of all to Lauren for another awesome performance there, but also to Kai and Niels. We did some great off-road on this one, and we had an awesome setup for this race. Therefore, it was really a team effort. I think the result shows that as well. And obviously, thanks to the whole team in the background.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Your race winners of the third BMW Sim 120 Cup event of 2020. They are Lauren Heinrich and Alexander Voss, and stood by with your second place team of Kate Schube and Niels Koch. We have Tyler Maxson with them.
So that was an interesting last few minutes of the race, I think, to say the least, for you guys. You had the race lead all the way up until the final few moments of that one, and a mistake cost that one from you. Talk us through kind of the last few minutes of that one, because it got a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was super intense race in the last stint. Me and Alex basically being the same pace through the whole stint. And then first Alex did a mistake, and then it was all on my hands for the last 3 laps. And then yeah, I kind of made the same mistake and lost it again. So it was maybe fair again. So a mistake for both of us, and then it was quite close in the first corner, but all good there.
Yeah, it certainly was. And you guys had that front row lockout, which I think helped you to avoid some of the incidents that we kind of saw through lap number 1. And that was a quite intense first lap of the event. And you guys were just able to kind of waltz away with it and start to really pull out your gap. And like you said, you were so close to your teammate pace-wise. That was a very, very tough race.
Yeah, I mean, the first lap was really, really difficult coming from the qualifying into the race setup on cold tires. We both struggled. I saw Lauren in front of me who nearly went off the track. And yeah, and then in the last chicane, I almost went straight. So it was very, very, very difficult to get the tires up to temperature. And yeah, after that, it was just flat out all the time. I think I did a few more mistakes. Lauren was maybe more in his comfort zone than me with his pace. So yeah, that was the gap of about 3 seconds before the pit stop.
Well, once again, congratulations on a 1-2 finish in a second place for you guys. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, definitely our whole team BS competition. It's really an awesome group and we are working well, obviously. Really happy. I mean, before we went top 5 would have been a great result for us. But yeah, we are going into a good direction, and thanks to the whole team. And Niels, of course, for his drive.
Well, congratulations once again on another second place finish and a 1-2 for the team.
Thank you.
And thank you very much to all of the drivers that's participated in the event here today. That's going to wrap it up for us here on RaceBot TV, on the iRacing Esports Network, and across BMW's social media channels. So BMW Motorsports social media channels. Want to give a shout out as ever to Istvan Bala, Track Cams for Gourmets. Visit that at trackcams22.com. And that guy over there has been Tyler Maxson. I am Will Vincent, and all we can say is thank you for being a part of our BMW Sim 120 Cup coverage today. Our next race, as we say, be in July. It will be at the legendary Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. But for now, we say goodbye and good afternoon from the Nurburgring.